I like this way too much.
It's empowering.
It's fun.
Asha, will you turn that chair around just so we can show that Alex isn't here?
We can make fun of the Greek guy.
Did you watch the Ty Holmes one?
I watched part of it.
Okay.
I didn't watch that's when you called him out about that. I watched that. I was dying laughing.
By the way, Aja,
What did I do?
I sent you like 17 clips.
And I only posted
And you
one.
posted the one where you throw the smackdown on Alex.
That
have a lighter?
was
I was trying to put a strategy
hysterical.
together to start, posting
That's
them.
a great strategy. Make Aja look good.
I was trying to put a strategy together to start posting them. I will post them.
I
But
watched.
No, great.
I'm just screwing with you, man.
I watched the entire Borthwick one, which was fantastic, and I laughed out loud so many times.
With the Borthwick one?
Yes, especially that's for you.
Oh, you brought me crystals. Okay, so I'll show you my crystals. Hold on.
Sweet Jesus.
Hold on. By the way, this has already started, so this is how we're going.
Crystals?
Right, hold on. Yeah.
That's how we're starting? Do you
Yeah.
have pockets full of rocks too?
You guys are
Oh,
you guys are
boy.
crazy.
Wait.
Oh boy.
Oh, stop. Okay, so I have these ones. So I have that. This is, I don't know the names of all
This
of
is
them.
the same as except yours is a little bit more refined, I think.
Yeah, and then I have
Just
these
looks like
ones.
limestone.
This is Smoky Quartz, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is actually from Sedona. My friend went to Sedona. They have like vortexes there or something. I
That's
don't know.
goals.
So she got me that. And this is kyanite,
I've heard of
which
kyanite.
is down towards like Georgia.
I don't know enough about them.
Neither do I.
I just know that I read that this one was supposed to cure anxiety. So I got the biggest rock I could find.
I had one of the biggest cures from anxiety by quitting drinking.
Me too.
Did your anxiety go away?
I
Or
mean,
did it increase?
you know what I don't get? In Ireland, we call it the horrors, right? So
Spell that
horror.
Oh, the horrors. Okay.
Yeah, like the horrors.
Oh, that's not what I heard the first time you said it.
I heard horse.
Well,
Aja finally perked up from his phone.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just reading a little bit about her.
I'm sorry. Who else is coming to this podcast?
Yeah. The
No.
Bunny Ranch.
so like when you have that brutal hangover,
Yeah.
where you're like,
The scaries.
you're so
Yeah.
anxiety ridden. So yeah, you get too many of those, and then you have children, and you're like, oh man, I need to.
Too many of the hangovers?
The horror hangovers.
I hated the hangover. I probably quit drinking because of the hangover.
I always say I quit drinking because of the hangover.
Yeah,
and
I
also
really
like
enjoyed the freedom of it.
the mortification the next day of being like, oh, I just said too much again.
No, I was
Yeah.
never.
Oh, I was
I
always
said the
embarrassed.
appropriate amount.
No, always embarrassed. Always embarrassed. Always embarrassed. And then everybody else thought it was hilarious, except for me. So eventually,
What, the night of when you kind of those inhibitions go down and you made
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a real hoot.
Yeah.
But
at the end of the
those
day,
hangovers.
at the end of the day, you were still sad.
Yes.
Yes.
So thus I have all my crystals.
Yeah. These are new to me.
But these are new to me as well. So I don't even really know.
When did you start getting into this?
So I would say that I've always been moderately interested in this stuff, but I was never so sure about the crystal thing.
Well, look, you do have to realize that there's a history. As a first-generation American whose parents emigrated from Ireland, there is a history of that stuff there.
The crystals?
All of this stuff.
I mean,
In Ireland?
Yeah, into all of Europe, man. This is all stuff that was...
Oh, like
I know
Druid,
Ireland has
old
some-
Druid stuff?
Yeah, and then the Christians, no offense, Aja, came across and they got rid of it.
Just never get it.
They got rid of it because anything that was considered not Jesus-y
Well,
was taken away.
That's
I mean, if you think-
kind of
so-
the history of the church is getting rid of anything that doesn't fit the narrative.
Yes.
exactly.
And the problem is, some of us now are finding these things are as helpful as they were to people in the 1400s.
Well,
So
that's the
now
funny
your
thing
pants
about
just
Irish
weigh
people.
more.
Yeah.
My pants, yeah.
Yeah, just have heavy pockets.
Going through
And then he has the crystals too.
Yeah.
going through
He
security.
carries more stuff in his pockets than any human should.
Oh yeah, there's still 3 pockets I didn't empty.
What?
It's
What?
insane.
What'd you have in your pocket?
Have you ever seen him empty his pockets?
Nope.
Okay. All
It's
right, so
like
this is
it's
the,
like
more
watching
crystals?
a clown
so the
car
left,
empty
the left
out.
pocket is all of this stuff. This stuff is the left pocket. All right. This is the right pocket, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff in my right pocket.
It's insane. It's like a clown car.
Yeah. So those are for my glaucoma.
Doesn't your pants sag?
No, that's why I
You
wear a
put a-
belt, Aja.
Hey, sometimes
And
you
then,
can wear the
and then,
belt,
and then
but-
just in case I need nail clippers or break nail
Why do you have-
clippers.
Two sets of nail
Yeah, why
clippers.
are you
Two
carrying
sets.
around nail clippers?
Huh? They're good. So no one questioned me on the rocks, but the nail clippers is a thing.
I questioned you on both.
Okay. So then in the back right pocket is
Oh my goodness!
gets
There's
worse.
still more.
Yeah.
the wallet.
Oh, that's normal.
Okay.
And then
Don't put it in your.
and
That's
then
a
the-
very
and then-
put it in your
thick
back
wallet.
pocket.
To
And then
be,
in the back
you
right.
shouldn't leave that in your back pocket when you
Yeah.
sit
Now
down.
everybody
That's bad
knows.
for your
Especially when
back.
you sit
I know,
down
it's
or
killing me.
drive.
I get it.
Yeah.
And
That's
in
the big concern.
And then in my left rear pocket, it's my garbage bin. So at the end of the day, I empty out whatever garbage I procured, whether it's gum wrappers or whatever.
There's like a system behind this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a chaos to it.
I don't have anxiety. Like I know you're saying that the black one there is for anxiety. This gives me anxiety.
Why?
It's just
Well,
too
I mean,
much.
you can always hold this rock.
Huh?
Might
I
make
don't
you
give a
feel
shit. You
better.
want to hold the kyanite? It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Was I with you
So
when you
when
bought
you-
that
like,
in
what
South
happens
Carolina?
when you-
Yes.
What happens when you hold it? Like,
I instantly feel better.
You know, I don't really know.
As a man of faith, right? You
yeah,
in particular.
me in particular.
There are things in this world that even you yourself cannot explain, and you just hold up to faith
Yeah.
and belief.
Yeah,
No different.
yeah. No, that's why I was like, oh, okay.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, except I don't have to pay my dues for this.
Really? Because this wasn't free.
I know it wasn't free, but I don't have to continually.
I
pay
really
for it.
like this rock.
Can I tell you where
You
I
should
got
get
this
some more.
one?
Yeah, where'd you get that?
TJ Maxx.
Did you really?
You know what?
Now
You know
this
where you
one I
get
We're
got
gonna
it.
take you to another place.
Yep, this one I got at Pathways to Inner Healing. I go
So
there
it's been
on occasion.
Yeah, of course they
been
commercialize.
Oh,
it.
yeah, you
As
can
soon
go
as
to
there's a
Five
market for it.
Below. I was hunting for like sage to do smudging, and I got super excited because I found these packets of sage, these sage smudge sticks, and I got them. And then like a few days later, I went into Five Below, and they were everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I was like, is this authentic if it's from Five Below?
No.
No. It could
You
be,
know,
but
you
it
know
did-
where it is? I just discovered this the other day when I was walking around my store. We have sage and all these rocks and all the bracelets with like the moon rocks at Lavish.
Yeah, I know.
Did
Yes,
you
my
know?
I
wife
was so
got it.
excited about.
Yeah.
You didn't know.
I kind of knew it was happening. When
Well,
I
I'll be
see
there.
rocks and sage laying around, I usually just walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so we're great friends, and he still won't come over to my house.
I come over
because
to your
of that.
house
I'm
all
just
the
kidding,
time.
dude. I'm just kidding.
But I bring the sage.
You do.
Yeah.
because he's got like all the rocks and stuff like
Yeah.
that at home.
Yeah, I got to
Now,
ward off the
Irish
I got
has
big
a lot
ones,
of
man.
Connemara marble. That's like, you know,
What's
the-
Connemara marble?
It's like the token rock of Ireland. You can only get Connemara marble in Ireland. So,
which explains the history of.
and I never would have thought about it until you brought it up. So
Yeah.
kudos to you for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
I'm
about
just
that?
saying.
Yeah.
Does it come like, is the marble
There's
in
a lot
like
of
big
knowledge.
sheets or is it like more rock?
So, I would imagine it's more like
Could
rock.
somebody
but,
use it in like a kitchen countertop?
I've never seen that, but people wear it as jewelry
Okay.
or the old school worry stones where they sort
you
of have
rub-
that
yeah.
divot and you rub it,
Yeah.
the old worry stones. Yeah.
All
The
right.
Irish knew. That
Yeah.
that
I
explains.
mean, I'm predominantly Irish.
that explains all my behaviors. You know, it's not that crazy. I come from a spiritual people.
Yeah. Well, I say God rest my parents, but they would kill me with these rocks and stuff
In your
because
pockets?
oh well, I mean, my mom would be very concerned because I was raised Irish
Catholic?
Catholic. Yeah, an Irish Catholic to
Oh.
boot. So that's like a whole other level.
And your parents are from
the-
Ireland.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, man, off the boat.
off the
Oh.
boat. Yeah. Yeah, so I have
Yeah.
two
What part-
passports.
what part-
I go back. I brought my kids back
Were you
already.
born here though?
I was born here. My parents immigrated to New York. They met in New York City. They both immigrated in the mid 60s and they met in New York City. And I was born in New York City in 1982. And then they came to Scranton in 83,
When's your birthday?
Hey,
February 18th.
Oh my God, you and I are pretty much the same age.
Oh.
I'm an Aquarius.
so they were
on the
they-
cusp of Pisces.
I'm a Leo.
Dude, you just
I
broke
think
my
I
rock.
just broke your rock.
Oh my
What an asshole.
I'll get you more. Don't worry about it. I'm
We
very,
didn't get that in South
I mean,
Carolina.
I'm very aggressively playing with it.
Dude, in
this
my
is
pocket for months.
This
I
is
can't
not
believe you
calming.
broke-
This
He's
is not
trying.
calming me
It's not
at
easing
all.
his anxiety.
No.
Yeah, what do you do?
He's like, I don't have any anxiety. And he just,
I don't have
he just
anxiety.
Broke my
crushed
goddamn
your
rock.
rock to smithereens.
I was with you when we got it. We have to go back to South Carolina.
So what made your parents move
Actually,
from
what I
New
did was I
York?
multiplied your rock.
Oh, hold on.
Jeez.
Do you
Hold on, let me get my shit
Do you need
together.
a minute?
Huh? Give me the rocks
Here, you
back.
take that one.
No, give me both of them back. Give it back. Oh, this is why
Give
we
it.
can't have nice things.
Give
Would you
it
like to
no,
hold
I'll
my
probably break it
anti-anxiety
very
rock?
aggressively.
Yeah.
Asha, what were
everything.
you saying?
Give everything back. No, I was
All
just
right.
like, what made your parents move from New York to Scranton in the 80s?
Oh,
Because they were in New York in the 60s, right? You're saying?
yes. Really interesting. So,
We'll decide that.
it, it involves Datsuns.
Okay,
The dogs or the cars?
The car.
Okay, I was gonna say. I was like,
The car.
Since I broke your rocket too, now we're like in sync.
Dude, is this is how horror movies start, man?
I would suggest you be really careful for the next couple days. What's it called?
A Datsun.
No, The Rock.
The Rock.
I'm gonna go on Amazon right now. I guarantee.
No,
you.
get off.
It's called North Carolina or something.
There's crystal caves in Georgia. Shut up. All right. Anyways, 80s parents. How'd you get to Scranton?
All right. So, my parents came to New York City. Everybody followed everybody, just like any other immigrant story. They all follow each other, right? So they met in New York City, got married. My dad was a car dealer, and he worked for Manhattan Datsun. So he used to swap Datsuns with John Lawless do you remember Bradley Lawless? They used to be where McDonald's is by Prep.
There's like a car dealership.
It was a car dealership, right?
Oh.
And I think he's still I think he moved to Oliphant, but at that time it was a really big. Am I talking?
No, you just keep telling your story. I'll just do the stuff.
Doing my Irish storytelling. So, he used to swap Datsuns with John Lawless. So, like, if Lawless was selling a gray one, but he didn't have it in stock, well, then he would call Manhattan Datsun, and then they started talking, and next thing you know, Lawless said, you would do a really good business selling cars in Scranton. So we up and moved from New York City to Scranton, and I think we were here for a very short period of time when my mother was like, oh my God, get me out of here. I need to go back to New York City. No.
This is in the 80s?
This was 1983.
Okay.
So keep in mind, now there's a whole lot of diversity here, but there was not, we were the only Irish people. Like, my parents were the only Irish off the boat. Everybody else
came
much earlier. So they can trace their roots back to like the coal mines, right? And, coming over from the famine and everything. So there was a lot of that stereotypical stuff that they were sort of subjected to, because back then.
Your parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because my parents weren't, the
racism in Scranton back then was very cultural.
It was. But the funny thing is, there were so many Irish people. It was just very different, because at that time, a lot of the people here hadn't gone to Ireland. So people didn't go to different countries the way they do now, right? So when
it was a hell of a journey.
Oh,
I mean, they don't even go to Wilkes-Barre.
I mean, people, I remember that people would be like, oh, I've never been to New York, right? And I would be like,
it's 2 hours away.
Stunned, right? Yeah. They never left. So my mom couldn't wait to get out of here, because people would say things to her like, did you have a bathroom?
No, we didn't.
Yeah. Did you have a bathroom in Ireland? My mother was like, of course we had. Yeah,
like monkeys.
Yeah. Like, they really thought.
Come here, Bobo. Time for your facing.
Yeah. But you know what? The mentality that your parents had, and the difference of some of the people that were around here, and the way that you probably are now wired, that's just kind of ingrained in them. I mean, it takes a lot to pack up and leave a country on your own.
My God. And when my parents left, and again, they met in New York City, my mother was 19. She came from rural Ireland.
And she came here on her own.
Now her sister was out here before her.
Okay.
But she came out on her own, and again, they didn't have a phone. So there was a telegram sent saying, Nody Neville's on her way. And then the flight got changed.
This is such a bizarre concept for people in 2021.
This is like the Quiet Man in reverse.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But she came over, and my aunt met her at the airport, thank God, because something had happened. The dates got changed, and the second telegram didn't get to her on time, but they ran into a neighbor from home who said, oh, did you hear that Nody's flight got changed? And she was like, Jesus.
Wait, so the town your mom grew up in, there was no phone?
Well, at this time, it was 1965, and they were in rural Ireland.
You ever been to rural Ireland?
Yeah, and the lines
I've only ever been to Dublin.
Been, yeah, no, Dublin is like New York City.
Yeah.
This is like, my mom would call it, the back of beyonds. Yeah.
We go to Ballina, County Mayo.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? My husband has been there. I have never been there. I've never been to Ballina, and I'm dying to go. So the next time I go, I'm going.
Everybody's awesome.
And that's the thing.
I don't think I met one asshole there.
No, they're really nice and they're friendly, but they'll always ask you about your political affiliation. Do you notice that? So like last time I was there, like, what do you think of Trump? Right? And you're like, never know. Or like, how's Obama? Did you hear he's from Wicklow? Like that sort of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, he's got family in Wicklow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that everybody is traced back. But now, because I grew up in Scranton, right? I feel like a really, really deep link with the people who are here now. So I feel like even though I'm a different sort of Irish, like I'm the first generation, I feel like I have to go to Ballina because everybody is from Ballina.
Yeah.
And then my husband, as a joke the one day, I got him for our anniversary, I got him that ancestry thing. Yeah.
That's
So
dangerous.
very dangerous. And I was like, listen, if anything comes out of the woodwork, I'm not paying for it.
Right,
okay?
right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it has to be over 18 by now.
Yeah.
Is your husband from the same area? Is he Irish?
No, he's from Scranton. He's from around St. Paul's area.
Okay.
So I got him ancestry and it was hysterical. It came back. He's from freaking Ballina.
Oh, dude,
like
it's
everybody
unbelievable.
is from. And then now my mom and dad had Cronin's Irish Cottage. It was an Irish gift shop, right? And it was on Kaiser Avenue for years and years and years. And then we were in the Steamtown Mall seasonally. And then toward the end, we were in the Steamtown Mall permanently. But all of a sudden, I had people coming in. And I was able to tell them, like, I'm somewhat related to you because my husband is.
Is that the shop that was to, like, if you're looking at the aquarium to the left of where?
Yes.
Is that
But
like
now-
the gift shop?
It was, yes, but that was in its final stages.
Yeah.
When it was open, it opened in 1985, right?
wow.
And I was 3. Yeah. And that was a standalone store on Kaiser Avenue where Nunzi's Automotive is now.
Okay.
And at that time, we had the store, and then right next door was my dad's car lot because we ended up here because of the car lot. The car lot moved a couple of times, and then finally he established himself on Kaiser Avenue. But one day back in the 80s, they had been driving past this little house that was for sale. And my mom said, oh, that looks like an Irish cottage.
Right.
So my father was always into business and stuff like that. So he was like, that's it, an Irish import store. So, but there was no internet that you can access then. So like they had to get on with the Irish Export Board and try to find people to
what a slog.
import this stuff. Yeah. So
it's a lot easier now.
So fun fact, when I was a
That's how
child,
they do business.
I drove past there every day because my family had a business down on North South Road.
get out of here. That's where I learned how to drive.
That's where I learned how to drive, North South Road.
That's one dangerous place to learn how to drive, FYI.
North South Road, it's parallel to Kaiser Avenue.
Anytime I think of North South Road, I think of Scranton Talk. Do you remember? It was like a furniture store that burned down, and I don't know why I have any memory of that.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it was called Scranton Talk, and it was a furniture store.
I might remember that. Yeah.
I'm going deep into.
Well, you guys. Oh, yeah. All right, hold on. Just real quick.
Do you remember? Do you remember last week when we talked to Ty?
I do. I apologize for 1 second. North South Road, just real quick, is my dad. They do have a business there, but my dad's been a race car driver like his whole life.
Really?
They used to race like Fast and the Furious style down on North South Road in like the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
I don't know
when
if
people were innocently trying to learn how to drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
sorry. Yeah.
No, sorry. No, it was good.
All right. So
good history.
there are two things in this world that don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Honey badgers.
Yeah.
And moms.
Yeah.
I've been looking at your Facebook.
Oh, I'm out of my mind.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Little bit.
I'm starting to go crazy.
So,
I shut it down and then I bring it back.
How did you get to zero shits given about this?
I think.
Or have you always been like, I couldn't find anything else outspoken about it much other.
Yeah.
Mainly what's going on in the Scranton School District right now.
Well, here's what's hilarious. The reason you can't find anything else outspoken is because when I get outspoken, I end up deleting my Facebook entirely. And then I brought it back in May.
Oh, so you have no control.
I have no control.
You're powerless against your own.
I'm powerless against myself. And actually, it was Alex. I was talking to Alex the one day and he was laughing. Him and Kurt were like, when you get into something, like you dig your teeth into it and you're 1,000% in. And I was like, that is accurate.
What was the thing that made you delete your Facebook the last time before you phoenixed it from the...
It was...
This is great.
It's great.
I don't know what any of this is. This is such a journey.
It is a journey. So the last time I deleted my Facebook was because I had a few people in my husband's family who got very angry with me because I'm a huge proponent of Black Lives Matter. And I was very outspoken. I'm very liberal. And
it's okay. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
No
I mean, listen, and that's the thing too. Like sometimes I think about it and I'm like, how did things go so awry? But when I really believe in something, I believe in it hardcore, and I will continue on that path. And long story short, they took these clips of my Facebook page. I don't, I'm not saying who. Members.
Oh, the family?
Members of certain family.
So, all right. So both sides started to behave like corporate media.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're gonna meme our relatives.
Exactly. And
that's pretty fun.
I will take 1,000% responsibility for
thing?
my part of it. Memeing relatives?
I don't know.
I mean, it
could be. You can't hit them anymore. The Irish were really good at just hitting people.
Yeah, we have like really good one-liners too. Like we're pretty witty.
Just fast, and it's like. But here's the other thing too. My mother's. I was telling you on the phone. My mother's. She has an apostrophe in her last name, her maiden name, so she's an O'Hearn.
Oh yes.
They have no idea how to not hold a grudge till death.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I just.
Yeah, and I always thought I broke the cycle, but I didn't. I'm hoping
you poured gasoline.
I'm hoping better for my children. But anyways, long story short, they ended up sending like. Do you remember did you ever see The Bodyguard when the guy like wrote weird letters?
Yeah.
And like
like the
anonymous letters.
The cutout reference letter.
Did we just reference a Kevin Costner Whitney
we
Houston
sure
movie?
Did.
First of all, one of the greatest movies of all time.
Absolutely.
So you better be very careful.
Highly disagree.
Absolutely.
I think it was a great movie.
Phenomenal soundtrack.
Great song.
So they started sending letters everywhere with these clip outs.
Wait. They were sending letters to you?
Notes?
To my bosses. Yeah, basically but the thing that was interesting.
What?
Oh yeah, insanity.
That's
insanity.
That's a little fun.
It's absolute insanity. So in an effort to quell that and
It's
I don't
funny.
know.
It's
yeah,
kind of funny.
It's funny now.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, what were you saying that made them go so like borderline murder like ish
Well,
with these
the
letters?
clip outs that they were, the clips that they cut out. One of them said that.
What do you mean like clips? Like they would take like your profile?
Like they would print your Facebook
post.
posts?
Right, or like my Instagram posts.
Okay.
And one of them, one that I can come off the top of my head, was when somebody tells you that they see your true colors, it's because you handed them their ass, right? Like something like that. I forget what it was. I don't know exactly what it was. But so clips like that, and they like sent them as if they were offensive. But here's the funny thing. I can be offensive, but these were not. These were not offensive.
Right.
So because I had caused so many issues, and in an effort, now, God love, my husband is awesome. And he's totally 100% like Team Breeda. But I was like, you know what? Let me try to pull this back a little bit. Let me pull this back a little bit. So I did that for I think almost the entire summer, and then I came back.
My thought on Facebook, and I'm trying my best to not be on social media, and I've had this thought for a long time, was that we were never meant to know what each other thought.
No, we're not.
And I think and I had to say to myself, well, I don't think anybody needs to know how I feel.
Yeah.
That's unless it's like a hyper, like we can all agree on this.
Yeah.
One.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to pull back because I'm like, oh my God, I'm spending my time fighting with assholes.
Yes.
And now I can't have a good Thanksgiving.
Right. Right. Yeah. I've pretty much I think
now Micah, totally different story.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, here's the thing too. Like
I lean in hard.
I don't have, I think one of the reasons that I'm so vocal is I'm not really connected to anybody. Like I have no like political connections. I have no aspirations.
So there's not really a consequence to having a voice.
Right.
Like a lot of other people would be like,
there's nothing they can take from you.
Right. I say that all the time. What are you going to do? Take my dog?
Right.
Like what, there's.
And I think I think that's a valid thing to say because look, I told you I left the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a real problem with silencing people.
Mm-hmm.
I have even the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I have a real problem with that because once it happens, you don't come back from it.
No, I don't disagree.
And if you and I ideologically were totally diametrically opposed, I'd still want to hear what you had to say.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it should be shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's people out there because when you start doing it, people feel empowered. And they feel empowered to now be like, if you hear a story about somebody getting kicked off of this or that, they now feel empowered to go after you, even though you're the family member, because they're like, I'm going to get them. And at the end of the day, like, what are you getting them?
Yeah.
You know,
No,
like,
I totally agree with that.
can you imagine the murder that goes down because somebody's messed with their Facebook? I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure there's been like,
And that's
you
the
screwed
thing
up my
too.
Facebook. Like when you get to the pearly gates, you think St. Peter's like, you need a do-over.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you went this far, this stupid. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
It's true. But at the same time, so
I don't know why I started talking about that.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, and I know I preach on this all the time, relationship changes everything. When you have a personal relationship with somebody, you posted something on your Facebook.
Oh, no. Oh, by the way, this is why I have the clippers, because
It's like a fidget
ball.
spinner.
Yeah, it's like a fidget spinner for me.
That's what happened to the Rock. I was,
Why don't you try spinning it next time?
it's over. It's
You
done. I
jerk.
broke it.
You jerk.
No, but I mean, relationship changes. Like, so you post something on Facebook. I don't know. What was it? Maybe 2-3 months ago.
I don't know what you're
And
talking
I just commented on there, and some girl that you know that I don't know at all
about.
started kind of digging into me. And so I was like, I'm going to stay away from this. I just kind of made a comical whatever back, and she just kept digging and digging. I'm like, I don't know you.
yeah.
I don't know anything about you. You don't know anything about me. Yet you want to have an argument on Facebook.
Yeah.
I got to go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the adults are going to leave the room.
But I think for all the things that we can agree on with that, right? Where it's like, what are we doing with our lives? Like, we're spiritual people. Why are we spending all of our time doing this shit? Fighting with people over shit that we have that affects us zero. But that's the negative. One of the positive things about it is what you're doing. In my opinion, at least somebody's doing it, raising awareness about what's going on at the school district.
Yeah, I think that, there's definitely a double-edged sword for sure. I have to be very conscious because I could get super hyper fixated on things that I'm interested in or things that I'm or passionate about something. Yeah, just like I said, like if I get into something, and I don't get into everything, but if there's something that I'm super passionate about, I'm going to go after it. And I think that makes people uncomfortable sometimes, especially when you come off as like a nice person, right? And you make people feel good about themselves, right? So like, we talk about this stuff. There's a certain thing called like the energy vampires, right? So
succubuses.
Yes. So when you have sort of this good vibe, right? People like you to stay that way. And the minute you
don't break character.
Don't break character, right? So the minute you express an opinion or have a belief that is different from theirs, right? Then all of a sudden you've messed up their world, right? And I think that happens a lot with me. But I mean, I feel like what's happening with the Scranton School District is such a disgrace, and it needs to be exposed. And I don't have any reason not to say what I feel or what I hear or what I know to be true. And then the other thing is I'm the only one on my dad's side of the family that's not in Ireland. I have 2 cousins actually that are in England, but everybody else is still there, right? And I'm the only one in Scranton. Both my parents passed away. I have a brother who moved back to Ireland 20 years ago from Scranton, went back, teaches Irish step dancing.
Oh, you were telling me, Michael Flatley.
He was 9th in the world Irish dancer.
Not her
I was
brother.
like, what?
Not her brother.
No, he could be.
Yeah.
He's like an
as
Irish,
handsome and movable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he have a
tell him you said
greased,
that.
waxed chest like Michael Flatley as well?
Yeah.
I'll be sure to ask him
Yeah.
next time we talk on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I love WhatsApp.
WhatsApp is the best.
I don't trust it.
I don't know. You kids can handle your
I-
fancy apps.
yeah.
I'll stick with my Facebook and Instagram.
I love it.
There you
I'll
go.
take signal and carrier pigeons. You can give it. That's what I'll do. All right. So, brother.
So I keep in touch with my family. Like
Yeah.
how would I see my brother just had a baby a year ago. So like, I get to see pictures of her, or, he gets to see my kids growing up and things that, my cousins and stuff are able to see my family that way. So there's definitely a double-edged sword, but there's advantages as well. But something's just sort of happened at some point where like even people will say to me like, wow, you don't care what you say. And I would like, then I'm like, am I supposed to? Like, why don't I care?
I think people get really, really broken down by worrying too much about what other people are going to think about their decisions.
Mm-hmm. And I was one of those people, and I am at certain times. Like it'll hit me at times.
But like a Scranton girl, you'd be, they'd say like, what are the neighbors going to think?
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes is okay, right? It doesn't mean it shouldn't stop you.
Yeah.
But every now and then, when you want to come out with something, you should pause and reflect, because sometimes like you don't have to say it. Because like one of the things that I always say is, if I'm going to say something, I'm always asking myself, what value is it going to add? Like if it's not adding any value, then I don't need to say it. So I do question, so I think it's okay for you to do that, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go ahead and speak out.
Right.
Well, she's also not here because she's just espousing. She's actually being productive in what she's doing.
Yeah.
She's bringing the message out. I mean, you're sharing. I was watching. I'd like to play something for you guys real quick.
Oh my God, this is
Well, while you get that set up too, I mean, you were just saying like you don't care about what people think or what you say. I think that there's a big difference between.
Let me know when you're ready. By the way.
Yeah, there's a big difference between not caring and being so passionate about something that the consequences of this, if I speak out, I'm so passionate about it, I believe so strongly in it, there might be backlash. I don't care about the consequences. This is the hill I'm willing to die on.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big difference in that, and just like, I don't care. No, I think it's that you care a lot.
Yeah, you do.
Right.
So much that it's like, you know what, if I get backlash for this. So I very briefly, is this what you're going to play? Her speech?
Oh,
this is Jennifer, I believe.
This is Jen, yeah.
Yeah, I briefly watched your speech, and there was a lot of things that you said that I'm like, man, I wish I could say that. But there's certain things I can't say.
You can't because I had to censor myself so much in business, right? You have to censor yourself a lot in business. And I have to censor myself a lot as an educator. But at the same time, I have a daughter. I have a son and a daughter. And the way that I look at it is I want my daughter to be okay saying things that is going to make positive change.
Yeah.
I do not want her to be afraid.
Yep.
So.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I ask myself, I can't even tell you how many times a day, why I stay in Scranton. Why do we continue to raise our family and send our children to the Scranton School District? Anyone who knows me knows I'm a staunch supporter of public education, but that is not the reason. The reason we stay is because of you. Because of the teachers and paraprofessionals in the Scranton School District, you are the very reason, the only reason why we stay. I trust you with my children every single day because I know your dedication and worth, even when the Scranton School Board, our Governor Wolf, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and our Chief Recovery Officer, Dr. Finan, collectively spit in your face and point the finger of blame at others. I know how hard you work, how you never stop thinking, planning, worrying, and problem solving long after that dismissal bell rings. I'm proud to stand with you every day as a colleague, and as a parent, I cannot thank you enough for standing up for our children when the Scranton School District continues to destroy a public education in Scranton by eliminating our preschool, closing our neighborhood schools, cutting our libraries and cutting our related arts, furloughing teachers and paraprofessionals, eliminating learning support paraprofessionals, reducing our bus routes so that it's unsafe for our students and putting their safety at risk, and continuing to drive teachers and paraprofessionals out of our district. I thank you for not wavering on your decision to stand up for what is right and equitable for our kids, even after years of disrespect and now as they strip away your health care because we dare to fight for a fair contract. Their union busing antics under the guise of a recovery plan are made blatantly clear with each passing day. Thank you for showing our kids what it is like to stand up for those who may not have a voice.
Thank you, Jen. Rosemary Boland.
Oh, there comes Rosemary.
I'm Team Rosemary 1,000%. I'll lay on a train track for Rosie.
Who is she?
Rosemary is the president of the Scranton Federation of Teachers. So she's the president of the union.
So, out of what she just said, I think, and I've had Borthwick on for years talking to him podcasts and stuff, and I had, we had Ty, we had Tom, now we have you. I've been asking for years, and no one can quite tell me with a degree of certainty, because I think the two things you got to realize is what were the problems in the past and what are the problems in the present. Those two things need to have a come to Jesus to figure out how do we get out of the hole, and then how do we stay out of it. Okay, so how do you think it has degraded without us going into like the 10,000 years of its existence to figure out where it was?
Yeah.
How did it get so bad And it could be outside factors as population or, shit like that with the taxes and, kind of living outside your means to some people. What do you think?
Well, I think one of the major issues, and there's many of them, but I think that one thing is that for a very long time, the people who are making decisions aren't hired because of what they know, but being Scranton, it's who you know. So I think oftentimes we have people in these decision-making roles who simply aren't
and that's for like
capable.
past boards for, 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah, and that hasn't necessarily changed. But yeah, there's also, and again, I feel like Tom and Ty and even Jen have more of a history where they would know probably a lot more of the facts in terms of what happened in the past. But it was...
Yeah, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, I know. No, I know. But I don't think it was...
June 12th. Yeah.
I mean, there was never any real secret, about the fact that money was spent where it shouldn't have been spent, or money was given where it shouldn't have been given, or people were doing favors for people. That was like the Scranton. That's the Scranton corruption, right?
Do you think the entire city was just overlooking it, or just like
I think this is one of the things with social media,
just
right?
So apathetic.
I think now we see. I think now
there's nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide. It's like, I always say, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Like, we can pull that curtain now and we see who's behind the curtain, where before, where were we getting the information?
Like from reporters, basically.
Yeah.
It is the reporters that have to do the work, but now like anybody can do it.
Yeah.
People are secretly recording stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah, a lot of the times the people at the top tell us that it's bullshit because it wasn't properly reported,
right?
Through an accredited or,
right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, right. There's a weird thing about deceiving your eyes, your ears, and your critical thinking with some of this. Like in other words, like when you post your videos, if you watch it with a nuance and unbiased, and then you read how it's reported or what press releases are, you're like, that's not what I saw.
Yeah,
that's not what I heard.
Yeah, yeah. Like with everything though, like and like I tell my daughter too, like that. I tell like whatever you're reading, you always have to ask yourself, what are the biases behind it? Because you yourself coming into whatever you're going to be reading, you already have a bias as well. So you have to understand your bias,
right? And
then understanding the bias from that person that wrote the article or put out the video or whatever. But then, you put all together, you read, you do your research. That's what they call research. Yeah. So it's not like, 20 seconds you watch something on someone's feed or whatever, and then you take it as the holy whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you're
Grail.
supposed to be but you're supposed to be able to like analyze. You're supposed to be able to like decipher and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I understand where this person's coming from. Okay, I see it. This is my bias and stuff like that. And put it all together before you make a decision. Yeah. But a lot of people don't. And I think because we live in a fast-paced world right now where everything is so instant, like instant gratification. Like banks now have drive-through, like like little things like that. So we want everything now. So it's like now when I get information, I don't like before you spend time and like you were talking about like you don't know if like how it takes so long for the information and everything, like back then Telegram. So by the time it passes through and you get it, the information has been filtered. You reason, but now it's so instant.
It's so instant, and the problem is that we don't analyze like we used to. So I always like use this example when I was, in school, when I would go to the card catalog, like, and I would find the resource. Kids even know what that is today? No, no catalog. Way. No. So like you'd go to the library and you'd be looking for your resources for a paper, and you'd go to the card catalog and it would tell you where the book is. Well, damn it, I worked hard to find that book. I'm going to read it and I am going to process it. But now you just have to type things into Google. And
then it spits it out.
And I don't hold the information. 3 seconds later, I'm not even kidding you. I read an article in the newspaper the other day, and I swear to God, 10 minutes later, I read it again, and I was like,
I don't remember this.
Did I read this already? Yeah. Like you don't process it because it's so easily accessible and so instant.
Well,
right?
It's because it seems like a lot of news organizations are less concerned with being right and more concerned with being first.
Exactly.
And more concerned with the dogmatic. So, you went from a time of, the Walter Cronkites of this world were just telling you the facts. This is what
I
happened.
think they still cared about being first.
They cared about being first, but
it took a long time to be first. Like, but
Yeah,
right
you
now
had
it's
time.
just like information is out
You're just
there.
trying to
Everybody's
break the
producing.
news.
So it's like, man, you know what? I don't care. I'm not even vetting that thing. I'm just putting it out.
And then if you're wrong, you're just going to deal with it later, sort of thing.
There's zero consequences to being wrong in the news anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of things that just come out, and it's
that's
just,
but that's here too.
oh yeah,
And I think that's what I was trying to get to. It's like, I don't think people really understand what dire consequences the Scranton School District and the city of Scranton are in.
No. And I think a lot of it too has to do with people have left. And even if they're just going over the border to Dunmore or North Pocono or Abington,
that's scary.
They've just looked away and they've just forgotten. And one of the things I accidentally got myself in a little trouble for, I had posted something that...
Was it on accident?
I know. Well, it wasn't on accident. It wasn't on accident.
Like, did you think when you were doing it, you're kind of like, this could be raucous?
You know why? This one I didn't, but when I reread it, I was like, okay.
What was it?
See. I simply said that just because you've moved outside of the boundaries of Scranton doesn't mean you are protected from what's going on here. And then I had a bunch of people who were like, what are you saying about the kids from Scranton? That you need to be protected from them? And I was like, talking about my kids. So no.
Wait, what do you mean protected though? From the shenanigans?
From the shenanigans, right? And here's the thing too. Like, we're all a community, right? So the education that our students in Scranton are getting, it's not like it's just going to stay here, right? Like we want everybody to do well. We want everybody to have the resources. So I always say, just because my kids live in Southside, why should they not have the resources that people have 5 miles down the road in Abington, right? So why shouldn't my kids who live in Scranton have the same resources as the people in North Pocono? So...
But is that but they're all different districts though, aren't they?
They're all different districts. But why?
But there's a lot of like economic stuff too. There's a lot of also politicians.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But we should be thinking along that line, right? I mean, especially like when we live in a globalized world. Like
Well, but I think somewhere along the line somebody does at some education level at the state and say, here are the things everything has in common, and then it's up to the districts to
So I mean, as a parent, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I totally get that.
And especially because and that's one of the things that I had said when I spoke at the board meeting is Scranton, the majority of our kids are living under the poverty line, right?
Is that true?
Yeah. So
the majority of the kids, 50% of the children in Scranton,
I want to say it's like 60% or more.
No, it
are
is
living below the poverty line.
It is bad. It is bad. Like
66% is sticking
that was
in my
like
head.
one of the reasons my church got involved and basically adapted like one school in each region to basically just provide for them.
So,
right.
But is that the failure? Is that the failure of the school district or the city?
I don't necessarily. Well, I'm not saying
go hand
that
in hand.
it all goes hand in hand.
Well, I mean, it's the snake eating its tail, but
And it's the
something's
state.
got to fail first.
The state as well. The
It could
state
be.
and funding.
Totally could. Yeah.
Definitely. But now what you have are kids that are in poverty, and a lot of them that are minorities, and they're not given the same opportunities as the kids in North Pocono. That's a problem. That's a huge problem.
But
so
is that
how
what
do we
they're
fix
fighting?
it?
But is that one of the issues at stake over figuring whatever the strike's going to end, or
that's not something that is said as like part of contract negotiations or anything like that. But that is definitely an issue that you kind of can't escape in this. It's something that we're all concerned about because we're in the classroom, and I think that's one thing that people who are making decisions, or the people on the school board, or the people in the administration,
right,
or Candace Finan, that everybody forgets.
She's the recovery officer, right?
She's the recovery officer.
Right.
I'm in the classroom with these kids, right? I'm in the classroom. I'm the one that's giving them a slip saying, go to the cafeteria and get your bag of food that you need for the, there's hunger issues for God's sake. But I feel like they don't know their own kids.
What I found out, and I'm not going to say where, but being a part of like a few things in Scranton, the census has a lot to do with it as well. And and I think that's why this year they were encouraging almost everybody in Scranton to, fill out their census, because there
was a big push for that.
Because a lot of people, Scranton is way underrepresented in the census. So they don't like all the things that
in what way though? Like how is Scranton underrepresented in the census?
Because like the parents, because like a lot of them are from
Are they underrepresented because they didn't fill out the census?
Yeah. So the census is just showing what.
Okay, so we're lazy.
Yeah,
we're a lazy city.
Let's
laugh about this, Audrey.
I mean, kind of, but you're dealing with people that some of them are not from here, right? So English is not their first
there's
language.
A huge foreign population here.
Yep. So there's a huge gap.
Doesn't Scranton have one of the biggest ESL programs in the state?
Yes.
Outside of like your Phillies, Pittsburghs?
I think Reading's pretty big too.
Yeah.
But those things. So they're not, and then some of them, especially like some of the Latinas and Latinos, and they think if they fill out the census,
somebody's going to come knocking.
Yeah.
So like a whole lot of, so like I was in a meeting and we were talking about this, and I was like, okay, because I had the same, similar questions, and I was thinking, it's easy to fix, like, yeah, people are hungry, but then it's like they're not represented on the census. So like the people, and I'm not basically saying, hey, listen, I understand what you're doing. Obviously, they should kind of like talk to you guys, the teachers, because you are the foot soldiers, right? But most of them, the people on top, all they're looking at data.
That's it.
They pull it up and it says, oh, the census says this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm giving you this money.
Does the board ever talk to teachers?
I saw one board member.
How long have you been there, by the way?
I've only been in the Scranton School District for 3 years.
Okay, but I'm sure you have people that you talk to who have been there longer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Has anybody ever been like, whether a past board or somebody actually went into a classroom and talked to a teacher?
I think I heard of it once because I was bringing this up recently. I did see
Isn't that bizarre, though?
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. And that's one of the things that I also pointed out. The people who
they run on these platforms of like, we care about your kids and blah, blah, blah. And,
but they have no connection to them.
But they don't say they don't go in the classroom and say, what are the problems? They're so disconnected, they don't realize how disconnected they are. Then why are they in those jobs?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of times
right?
It's a political platform in a lot of ways.
Wait, you don't get paid?
No.
Not the school board, no.
School board doesn't get paid?
It's connections.
Yeah, I think most of them.
I just never understood the benefit of it.
I mean, because if somebody is
the mayor was on the school board.
If somebody is funneling the kids to a different preschool and stuff like that, I'm sure they
will.
Well,
I think it's so complicated. Like I mean, there's so many reasons why this is happening.
Yeah,
I think one of the most dangerous things that you can have in a community, a town, it's two things really. Is one source of information. We are a one-paper town. They tell the story they want to tell. That's it. The other one is a one-party town. I am, and we'll get into this real quick, but I'm politically independent. I see good and bad on both sides. There's benefits to both. There's negatives to both. I think that we have had, look at our city council, look at our entire school board, look at our mayor, look at our commissioners, look at our governor. It's just top to bottom. It's one party.
State rep, state senator.
And there's no, diversity is very important.
Offices.
Yeah, diversity is incredibly important. But diversity of ideas is just as important. You've got to have opposing views. If you're in a sound chamber, nothing ever changes, nothing ever gets done. You have to have pushback. If for nothing else, you have to have pushback to sharpen your ideas. And
Amen.
We don't have that. It's all just the same people saying the same things. And when you look at,
they just change clothes every few years.
Yeah, you look, we're talking about the census, and that's a huge part of it. But you look at city council, the same people that were on city council are back on city council. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
The school board, thank God, had some change.
But here's the thing too, though. Sorry, not to go back, but we're talking about the census again. Most of these people on this, on city council, they know about this, so they know that we are underrepresented.
But if you make waves, it makes your life harder. If you go along with it,
Yeah, so they don't do anything, and then they always keep blaming the census. But there's a problem.
Right.
So there's a problem. People are not filling out the census and stuff like that. So the numbers that we have talk about, like the poverty rate in Scranton are all lies. So do something about it. Don't use the census. Because if I'm in academia, right, and I'm doing research, and I know the truth, I'm gonna speak out the truth, not like because. Oh, I got some numbers from this research paper that said, Scranton has like
but if people
3,000 people. So
but if people aren't filling it out, do you know how many people aren't filling it out?
They approximate. Somebody just takes
they
a
do.
guess.
Yeah, they do. Like when I heard about that, they had an approximation.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember the exact number, but they knew this was in the city. This was city thing. We were having a conversation. They knew how many people. So it's like, don't be looking at this. Don't be looking at the data. Yes, great. We see it, but that, okay.
You should put in the handicap.
Yeah.
Just like golf.
Well, I mean, and you said it in your speech at the school board meeting. And I'm not going to repeat it because I don't want to get in trouble. You can get in trouble all by yourself. But you alluded. You didn't. I'm going to allude to. You didn't allude to. These kids are poor. They can't afford to go shop at these shops.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like it.
People are like,
I like it. But here's the thing. But you were spot on, and this is why it's so frustrating. Like, there's certain things I can't say, but like,
I know.
I mean, for you to be able to have that voice and say it is huge.
Yeah.
Because people on the school board,
they
didn't go to Scranton High School.
What business does that person have being on the school board? Why?
I don't understand.
Why are you there when you don't have any notion of what is going on in these buildings? And I'm not saying that everything that's going on is bad, right? There's some amazing, my students, the one time I broke when I was when I was saying what I was saying was when I started talking about my students.
Right.
And I immediately thought to myself that my friend Jen Telesco is watching me and she's going to crucify me if I start crying. So I better pull my act together, right? But when I say that I love my students, I know that sounds super cliche and a little hokey, but my God, I really, really, really mean it. I really mean it. I was not a National Honor Society student. I wasn't a bad student, but like so many of my students, my family was going through a lot of crap. I was getting caught up in a lot of crap. I was probably getting away with some stuff that I shouldn't have been getting away with, but my parents were dealing with their own thing. My father had gotten very, very, very sick at one point. He was in a coma. And I had an English teacher when I was 17 years old who saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. I had zero self-esteem. I had a lot of crap going on. And I didn't even make an immediate change. It wasn't like, those Hallmark movies where you like meet the person who like changes your life and everything's perfect. No, I went down a pretty weird road for a while, So at 17, I had this awesome teacher and I went back to college at 27. So there was a huge gap there where I was like running around New York City, supposed to be in class, but I'm really, at the Sally Jesse Raphael show, probably with one hell of a hangover. There was like 10 years of that.
The Irish in you.
Yeah, I did. I ended up at one point, I was in Ireland bartending. Like, there was good experiences, but also bad ones.
Those are perfect experiences.
Yeah.
You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And the thing is, I never forgot that teacher. I loved writing, loved reading. I think it is one of the greatest things in the world. If you could learn how to write and you can have a voice, right? It doesn't matter what you do. You've got something that nobody can take away from you. So then I always helped my parents at the store. I ended up running the store. My dad had died very unexpectedly. And I ended up sort of taking over the store with my mom. And I one day thought, God, I really need insurance. And I think I was engaged at the time. And I was like, geez, I'm probably going to end up having to, pay for a wedding at some point. So I got a job at Cigna on the phones, right? Like, never thought I was going to stay there. And, 7 years later, I was a client service executive, an amazing job. Definitely I'll never make the money that I could have made there that I make in teaching. Mm-mm. So then I left there and took over my mom's store when my mom passed away very suddenly. And
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, the Irish exit just in the most tragic way goes with my family. Like Jesus. I mean, you talk about.
I don't mean to laugh at you, but
yeah.
I'm
no.
like,
Well, we had
Irish funerals. There's a celebration.
Oh,
there's no mourning.
We are
celebrate.
the saddest yet funniest people you will ever meet in your life. Like we'll feel like absolute garbage, but we will find a way to put a joke in it, and then we'll cry later in the closet.
My great uncle died, right? And they were having the what's that? After the burial, you go to the
Irish wake,
the dinner.
No.
the
Oh
lunch,
yeah.
like the
Oh,
lunch,
the
right?
luncheon. Yes.
They were at the Hilton. They went on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And my uncle and my mom's cousin, great uncle, whatever, the Irish, there's thousands of them. You can't keep track. It was like 11 a.m. He walks into the bar and he's like, "You guys aren't open?" And they're like, "No." He's like, "It would behoove you
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
to open now."
Yeah.
Mhm.
They had to call a bartender in, like who had the day off, came in. The bartender made like $1,000.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They partied from 11 a.m. till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah. That's the. Oh my
That's
God.
the beauty of the Irish.
When my mom passed away, I got the hell out of there because I had to go to the funeral the next day. Like this was right after the wake. I had cousins in from Ireland. I had, everybody in from New York and everything. So I remember actually Adam and I, my friend Adam Davis and I, getting out of there because we knew things were going to go south like really fast. And I mean, I think the cops were called at one point, and like my cousins were like running because they were like, "Oh my God, the cops are here!" But they were with their husband. With the one was with their husband, who's a New York City like sergeant. So like, why is you? This is how drunk they are. They're running. Like my other cousins, like
You ever been to an Irish wake, man?
Just
I the night before a funeral, I was with an Irish family, and
No, you can't go.
everybody was sad drinking.
and then singing like total madness. You're just. I mean, when we got married, I remember saying like, "Listen," and I know it.
Did your husband have any idea what he's in for? Or?
He's the salt of the earth guy. Every time I come home after something, he's like, hi, like what happened today? He's awesome. He really, really is. But no, when we got married, I remember saying, like my biggest concern is the bar, right? Like you're going to have enough bartenders, right? And they were like, yeah, we'll have a bartender. I was like, oh no, we need more than one bar.
Yeah.
Like I was not a bridezilla in any way. I was like, we get our reception
you don't know how
was
this
at
works.
Yeah. The reception was at the Holiday Inn in Dunmore. Like I am not fancy, but please
Isn't that swinger hotel?
Oh my God, that is hilarious. And that's a story that I am not involved in, but that is a story for another time because I figured that.
Let me sit up.
I figured that out like the night of the wedding when we were like looking around and we were like in the bar after the reception and we were like, this is weird.
A lot
What's
of husbands
going
touching
on?
other wives.
Yeah, I was like, what's
a lot of upside down
going on
pineapples.
here?
Yeah.
Drop the keys in the basket? What?
Yeah.
So,
Oh man, I love that place.
So, do you feel your experience, your background, and everything helps you empathize with the student? That's why you're able to understand them more than a lot of people.
1,000%. I feel like any teachers that I know, nobody gets into teaching for the money. Nobody gets into teaching for the summers off. If that's what you're in it for, you're going to last about 5 minutes, right? So I wouldn't say that I'm any different from anybody. I think that the teachers, 99% of the teachers that I know are just so good at their job and they're so good with their students. Nobody wants to be picketing. Everybody wants to be in the classroom with their kids. So, and then I went back to teaching late. I had gone to school for education.
And this is how the Irish pick up on the story they started an hour and a half
ago.
ago.
Exactly.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
It sure is. But that's it. It's almost like it's a calling, right? Like I really feel that way.
Yeah, you have to be wired for it.
You really do.
It's a hard job.
Yeah.
It is a hard job and it's a heartbreaking job, but it's also like, kids will they'll write me notes like saying these wonderful things. And I collect them. Like they mean so much to me, or they'll draw me pictures or, like little things like that. I can't.
There's a connection there that you wouldn't.
Oh my God. I absolutely love those kids. And there's nothing like seeing them understand something or click.
Is it, do you think a lot of it has to do with that teacher when you were in
Oh my God.
Like 7th grade. What was it? 7th grade? 11th grade?
No, I was in
English
11th
teacher.
grade. I was 17. I was in 11th grade. It was
17, that's what it was. My
Mrs.
brain broke.
Nastrick, who incidentally is a very dear friend of mine. We reconnected when I was a long-term sub at Scranton High. I would have my morning coffee with her. And I love
Is
her
that
with
like a
all
great
my
thing
heart.
or what?
Oh my God, I love her so much. I love her so much. But and I 1,000%. She didn't even know. She had no idea
That
what
she had that
did.
impact on
Not
your
a
life.
clue. She probably figured that out when I would repeatedly tell her in a stalking way when I was like 35, like how much I loved her.
I'm outside your window.
Yeah.
You changed my life.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I'm in your garbage can. You changed my life.
Hello. But
Do you need a towel? You changed my life.
but no, she is awesome. And so there's kids that aren't writing me notes.
Yeah.
That might very well have that feeling. Teaching them how to write or having them come up to me we just had to write an essay, and trying to teach 11-year-olds how to write an essay is like
Torture.
a real come to Jesus moment, right?
That's torture.
Yeah. So, but for them to say, I had one come up, she's like, I don't know why, but I don't want to leave this room. I just want to keep doing this. And you're like, you get chills up and down your spine when you hear that.
Yeah.
Because it could be make or break. Like if you don't do this right, they're going to hate this for the rest of their life, right?
Yeah.
Well,
so there's that.
Tell them content and copywriters are the most sought after people right now. And they're going to be for like the next 10, 15 years.
FYI.
Really?
The reason I survive.
Everything is content.
I write resumes. On the
Everything is
side.
content.
I write resumes on the side. I write newsletters on the side. I've written eulogies for people. I've written obituaries for people. I write on the side.
Yeah,
and that's
everything
what
is
I always say
content
to
now.
my husband. When
What shitty person hires somebody to write their eulogy?
no,
There's some people that just aren't good
they
at putting
can't
words
do it.
together.
Then don't do it.
No, truly. I will say this.
For all the people, I'm sorry for your loss.
Cancel.
If I have to put, you know how like with taxes where all you have to do is put the 0, whatever form that is, I will pay somebody $100 to do that. I cannot
But you
do
will write other people's stuff.
Yeah, I cannot do numbers, right? I always say the reason Cronin's Irish Cottage did not continue is because I could not figure out QuickBooks. There was no way I would get accountants who were brilliant, and they would try to explain things to me, and my ADHD would send me God knows where.
I think there's a thing in people's brains where they just don't get it.
No, and I don't want to get it.
From experience.
And I have no interest in it.
Yeah.
No interest in getting QuickBooks or understanding like the tax
How it
rates.
works.
Every time I log in, I'm like, I don't understand you at all.
Hate it. But I will say when I was
It's
growing
like, you know
up,
what it is? I feel like it's the POV of my proctologist. Me looking at that screen. That's what it feels like.
Well, no, but like,
God damn it,
just
another
like,
one.
Just like
Another one.
you're saying, like people pay you to write an obituary, and Marky's clutching pearls.
Yeah.
I pay my accountant to do my QuickBooks.
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
I pay my lawyer to keep me out of jail.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's certain things
So,
like
okay,
if
wait,
that's not what you're good at, you pay somebody else who's better because you need to be able to perform this function.
And you'd be surprised how many people
Yeah.
can't put words together.
So speaking of lawyers,
yes. I'm
tell
going to
me-
need
tell-
one, right?
tell me about what the solicitor did.
Oh boy,
Oh my
with
God.
the healthcare decision
thing.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about healthcare.
Why does that now? That's historically when a union or teachers go on strike, don't they take their health care?
They don't. They can, but they don't. Right?
What's the like 99% of the time they don't? There has to be a
I've never heard
I've
of that.
never
I've never heard of
it.
it either. I'm just
Ever.
wondering if someone else has done it before.
I've
I'd
never
assume
heard of
they
it.
did, but I
would
don't know.
imagine, but it's so few and far between that I can't even think of anything. And nobody has said to me, well, they did it this time.
So-
because
so-
there's really nothing.
My point is, it seems like a real douche move.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
really, 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 really is. So, again, the way that they
Does
negotiate.
the board have anything to do with this decision of taking away the health care?
Did they vote on it?
I don't believe they voted on it. I think, to be honest, I think they were as stunned as perhaps we were, but I don't know for sure. I mean, they sure didn't stand up for us. They didn't try to stop it.
Was it like a power play to try and get everybody to go back
It
to
was
work?
Total negotiating tactic.
Okay.
It's just a dirty negotiating, and
But
it
who,
backfired.
okay, so who are the negotiators
so we've got the union. We have our which Rose,
on the board side?
On the board side,
Does the board negotiate?
Or is it the administration?
The administration is there. Then there's usually a mediator that's involved. Audi is in there. And the school board.
Car?
Yeah, it's like the car. But he really seems to be.
I forgot. Oh, Datsun. Yeah, okay.
Datsun.
Okay.
That's right. The Datsun dealer.
We've got Datsun here.
It's coming full circle.
So Audi seems to throw the balls for everybody else to fire them.
Who's Audi?
He's the attorney.
Okay,
He's
solicitor.
the attorney. He's the solicitor, right?
Okay.
So he was the one that, if you watch the board meeting, he was the one that said, "Oh, well, I can't do anything illegal." But he didn't do this when he was dealing with Old Forge or he was dealing with Abington. So it was a scare tactic, and it definitely backfired. Because even though it's legal, it's just not really moral, right? The amount of people who have been struggling because of that is unreal. I mean, there are stories of kids that are in the hospital at Lehigh Valley, like they care so much about the kids in the Scranton School District, but how many teachers have kids in the Scranton School District that are insured under that insurance? I have two, like their insurance was cut.
Or how many teachers that don't live in Scranton have children?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's their insurance too, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I'm lucky because my husband the next day got us on his insurance. But there are other people who don't have that option. If they've, single parents, or if they have two parents that are within the district. So, I mean, there's.
I get concerned with people making proactive moves for their health in this situation, because I'm always like, they're going to be like, well, you survived without it.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, I think that,
I'll give you an example. I have terrible jaw issues, and it sounds way worse than it is, but I have like a cyst behind my eye that was just found, right? I had an appointment in Philadelphia that I had to cancel because my husband's insurance, we weren't sure if it was going to kick in yet. Now I'll be fine, right?
Right.
But how many teachers, and I will.
How many employees? There's 900.
There's like a little under 900, I think, that are affected by this. I could be totally wrong on that.
Whom all have their own health issues, or their children have health issues.
How about the teachers in cancer treatment? And keep in mind, it's not just teachers. There's teachers, paraprofessionals, guidance counselors, school counselors, and our nurses, right? So
the nurses are under that
too?
The
nurses are under it too. So, and I'm not speaking out of school because it was shared publicly on Facebook, but one of our nurses who's on sabbatical is in the middle of cancer treatment.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and again, I'm not speaking out of school, but my Mrs. Nestrick, who I love with all my heart and soul, is in chemo. What happens to her?
Well, she gets the full bill for that. And when I tell you, if she's going through this for a couple of weeks, you're talking about potentially 6 figures.
He's saying that because his kid had cancer.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's fine now. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Mike, you're crazy. I said, Mark.
But imagine like.
You get what you wish for, Aja.
Well,
but
he's one of those kids that was, he's better now, but when he was in middle school, he was a terror. So I'm not even going to say his name because you might know him.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I said it earlier in the podcast. People just have to, but I use it in a different way.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'll have to pay attention.
Where do you teach?
West Intermediate.
Nope, you don't know him.
Listen, those are the ones that I love the most. Yeah. I love this kid with all my heart. The one when we were in the middle of writing, he was like, "I want to get in school suspension so I don't have to do this." Right? And I was like, we were in the hall talking because he was like getting a little riled up. So I pulled him out in the hall. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I want to get in school suspension so I don't have to write this." Right? And I was like, "Do you?" Because guess what? Now you're going to sit in my classroom for the rest of your life.
I'll fail you so you have to come back.
Until you like this.
Yeah.
But like I know him. So then I sat with him. And this is the thing. This is what people don't understand. He comes up to me the next day. "Mrs. Holmes, I'm not feeling so good. Do you think I could sit next to you for a while and you can help me do this?" Do you think that the people on the board see that? No, that's one kid. That's one.
I think they think they're upper management, and they have some sort of middle management that's the teachers, and they're like, they'll take care of it.
Well, one thing, I mean, as a business owner,
if this was a business, it would be a terrible
That's what
business.
I'm saying. Like, as a business owner, it's the recipe for success is pretty simple.
Yeah.
If you have good
Most
people,
CEOs
take
go on
care
the
of them.
floor to figure out what's going on.
And
This isn't rocket science.
That's why I came into
CEOs.
this. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not here that long. So that's why people are like, are you sure you want to talk? And I'm like, listen, I make like $38,000 a year. Like, what are you going to do? I know. Like, we're paid.
And she has her master's.
We're paid so poorly in this area. It is
Which is why we're
disgraceful.
losing so many teachers to other districts.
I think
But
120.
this is a domino effect.
Yeah.
Like, this
Oh,
isn't just
yeah.
like a one-size-fits-all thing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's a lot of things that need to be fixed.
Oh, that's why I have no problem saying. I think that's
So
one
you
of
go
the
to
things.
school, collect, pile up debt and everything, and only make like
pile
30.
of debt. Navient's probably
And-
calling me right now.
And then you make
Yeah.
38.
Yeah.
And how you gonna pay your debt? And
And if
then
I worked at
like
Cigna-
mortgage, all of that, like
Well,
wow, that's insane.
this is the amount of stuff that I pay for, right? So, like, I pay for materials. I join teachers'
kids.
clubs so that
Yeah.
I could have resources.
Yeah.
Because now they've just given us resources that I have to sort of dig into and learn about. But before that, you have no curriculum.
Does the government allow you to like write off, like have like
I
a
think
tax
$250 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's-
not a lot.
Yeah,
man.
it's definitely not a lot. But
What's your union doing, man? They need to get up
oh
and
well,
start do some work.
that's why Jen isn't with me right now, because she's been negotiating all day. I mean, you made a great point. When you're in business, right, and you like look at this, you're like, what's going on? I think that's why my head is constantly exploding, because coming from Cigna, right, and then walking into this world, and I'm like, what? Wait a minute, what's happening
Why
now?
is it run this way?
How is in plain sight?
Yeah, it
In
feels
plain
like
sight.
it feels like you're working for like a company in like Italy in the 1930s. You're
So
like, what is going on
demoralizing.
here?
It's demoralizing. It
Yeah.
really is. And the thing is, it's not the principals, right? Like, the principals are they're also administration, but you can tell that they're sort of crushed in between this weight of like the admin downtown.
So it's
and the
the
teachers.
admin, the directors, the board, and then everybody else.
Well, the board
Technically,
and the
the
admin
board
are separate.
oversees everything, technically. But I mean, okay, so it's
some of the
a
things that
typical business structure.
Yeah.
So you have your McTiernan. What's her title again?
Superintendent.
So it's almost like
Same
the
time,
CEO.
girl.
It's like he's like
She's like the CEO, and then the
Okay.
board is the board.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like they work together.
yeah,
cohesion.
hold the CEO accountable.
Yeah, and then you have
and-
the principals, which are directly under the administration,
Like the
whereas the
VPs.
teachers are almost different. But they're under the administrators, but under the principals, but not under the administration in this weird way. It's a weird structure.
Mhm.
And the principals, I mean, they have to deal with the day-to-day running of this operation,
Mhm.
answer to their bosses who are right now fighting with the union.
Mhm.
It's a mess.
It's
It's an absolute mess.
It is. It's
What are the points of contention right now? What are
the healthcare is first of all,
what are the what are they called?
like
the
what brought about
walk away
this-
number
yeah.
shit. What
So here's what the main issues are, and I know Tom Borthwick talked about this
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. The elimination of the preschool was mind blowing, right? They
That
eliminated.
to me sounds criminal.
Oh, I mean, they're still getting paid those federal funds, so it was not paid for.
Where's the money going?
That's a good question. I mean, that's
Wait, we don't have a preschool program and the money's still coming in?
exactly.
And nobody knows where it's going.
I think that they said they were going to do something with Title I reading and math, but I'm pretty sure that hasn't happened.
It sounds to
is
me
that money
like
going to pay their debt?
That's federal. Those are federal funds.
There's like
So
hard-
that was
it can only go
hard
for one
money.
purpose.
Yeah.
right, and it didn't. The district wasn't even paying the teachers. Like the teachers for those programs, it was paid by federal funds, and they still cut it. They still cut the preschool.
So they turned it from a net zero into profit.
Well, then they said they were using it because they wanted to get rid of it because they wanted to make space.
Space
Like
for
the
what?
final frontier?
Yeah, space because now they closed Bancroft,
Right.
and then they moved 5th grade into South Intermediate, which is a
Right.
whole other animal.
Yep.
So, but that's the thing. There's really no clarity as to what's going on.
It sounds to
So
me
there's
like
no plan.
Audie, the solicitor, needs to be spending his time looking into this rather than cutting health care,
He-
is what it sounds like
well,
to me.
then that comes into the healthcare issue. So they want to change the insurance, which people for some reason think that teachers don't pay for their insurance, but we do pay for our insurance. Now, this is where I first spoke at a board meeting, and I think I first started
Dropped an effort.
Did you?
I don't know. That's just an adjective when you're Irish.
Yeah.
But that's where I think I first started sort of getting the ire, if you will, or people were like, why are you talking? Like, stop talking.
Yeah.
But coming from healthcare, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What are they trying to do? So they're trying to implement what's called ELAP. It's not an insurance. It's what we refer to as a third-party pricer, which basically means if the doctor sees you, and let's just say you have something done, I'm going to use really low numbers now, right? But let's say it costs $100. Well, then ELAP is like, you should get 10. We're only going to give you $10. And they're going to lowball that badly, right? So then the doctor will say, no, it's $100, and ELAP's going to go back and forth a little bit. And then the doctor is going to say, listen, you gave me $10. There's $90 here that needs to be paid. And I don't have a contract with you, so I'm going to bill the member. So now the member is going to get the $90 bill. Well, now the member has to go to ELAP and say, look, I got this bill. ELAP is then going to write a letter to the doctor with an attorney's letterhead on it, which I always say when you are in healthcare is about effective as having Mickey Mouse on the letterhead, because that does not matter, right? They're going to do this little song and dance. And in the meantime, your credit is going to get destroyed.
Yep.
And right? When you're talking about healthcare, we're not talking about $100 here.
Yeah.
We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you want to go after providers and physicians in hospitals for like overcharging, try not to do it on the backs of teachers who need healthcare. And then what also is going to happen here?
They don't want to pay for it.
No.
Right.
No. And then here's what else is going to happen.
Man, it sounds like a scam.
Oh, it's such a scam. It makes my eyes roll in the back of my head. And then what's going to happen now, you have a good relationship with your doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't pay his ass.
Right. And then your doctor's like, listen, I can't see you anymore. And if you do need to
we
see
need to
me.
see other people.
Yes, we need to see other people unless you pay me 100%.
It's not me, it's you.
Yeah.
Unless you pay me 100% upfront, right?
Yeah,
Who's got
right.
that kind of
Yeah,
cash, right? So now you've got people who aren't going to be going to the doctor when they're ill, right? In the middle of a pandemic. And you've got people whose credit is going to be destroyed.
Which is what they're going to need to move on with their lives after this nonsense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to buy that house outside of Scranton because your credit is going to be destroyed.
like a scam.
It's crazy.
Maybe they want to keep them in Scranton. They don't want to buy
Wait, this seems so like
I
I feel this sounds like okay, maybe it's because my glaucoma medicine kicked in. But this sounds like shit that should be talked about on Alex Jones. This sounds insane.
I mean, listen, all I can say is for somebody who pays for medical out of pocket, it is a scam.
Mm-hmm.
My wife went for a COVID test. It was negative, but she went for a COVID test. This was kind of back before people were just throwing around free tests and vaccines. And so she went up to the hospital, won't say which one, goes negative, goes home, everybody's happy. Gets a bill for $2,000.
What the?
$2,000.
Mm-hmm. And that's nothing.
What
So
did they do?
She went in the
They
front
collected
door.
her farts.
No joke. You go in the front door.
They did nothing.
Take a left. You go into a little room, and it was like the hospital's drunk tank.
Mm-hmm.
You go into like this. She said you go into this little pink shower, and a doctor comes in and like from behind the shower curtain swabs your nose. You go back to your car, sit. They'll call you when they get the results back.
This sounds like something out of the red light district.
Oh my
weird.
God,
This?
that's
$2,000. So she calls and was like, "This is insane. That you said it was like an emergency rush job and all this craziness and all this." And they're like, "Okay, well then we'll knock it down to $700."
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And she was like, "That's again ridiculous."
So they could do that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So why didn't they do that? Like start.
Because
they're
people
billing,
will pay that $2,000.
No, because they're billing the insurance company, and the insurance company doesn't care. It's all a big. It's all a big
I mean,
game.
it's the same thing like doing business with the government, right? Like there's this thing called like crowding out. The government will crowd you out because they don't care. It's not their money. It's not whatever. So they could. Yeah.
Long story short, I don't think we ever ended up having to pay anything Because she kept fighting it.
If you keep fighting it. And that's the thing, coming from insurance, right? I would see those raw claims, right? So I would look at these raw claims.
$82 for an aspirin.
Right, exactly. But you've got, let's say you have your deductible, and then once your deductible is satisfied, well, then there's a contracted rate, right? So that $82, the contracted rate with your insurance company might be $30. So that balance there is now written off. So now you're working with the $50, right? So then the insurance company is going to pay 80% of that $50, and then you'll pay 20% of that, right? So the problem is with this ELAP outfit, they're not contracted with anybody. So they're like, oh, well, nobody's out of network. Well, yeah, but you have no network.
Right.
So so you can't use that. So now there is no contracted rate. There are no discounts.
Is this the health insurance they want to give you?
This is what they're trying to shove down our throats.
What's the difference in price?
Well, I think the price might be similar, and that's what they're trying to say.
Then why would you do that?
Oh, well, this is what they're saying about the contract,
Somebody's
right?
getting a kickback.
Well, that's a whole other ballgame. But benefits.
They're making the frogs gay.
Benefits administrators are driving very nice vehicles, but that's the problem. They're saying that they can't give us a better contract because any savings need to be found within the contract. So they want to take whatever savings, which makes no sense, right?
What does that even mean?
Right. So I was rewatching because I
They're
like to torture
brainwashing
myself. It's gaslighting. It's like abusive, right? So I was watching this recovery meeting, and Dr. Finan was like, guys, we have to do hard things, and it's hard work, and things need to be found within the contract. So you've got to give a little to get some.
All right, take a pay cut yourself, girl.
But right. That's a whole other ballgame. But give something. There's nothing to give.
I mean,
there's no.
You're being paid like $38K. What else are you gonna give? Like
I got nothing. I have nothing. I do this because I love it. Right? Exactly. I know. I always apologize to my husband. I'm always like, hey, remember when I had that good job? Sorry.
Yeah. In essence, you're his artist wife.
Exactly. Yeah. I can.
But this one fulfills you.
Write a resume.
Yeah, this one fulfills you. The other one just paid a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. It fulfilled my bank account.
Yeah.
So part of the problem I'm having with everything that's going on in this city is that, especially between we're talking right now and we're trying to understand things that are truths or as we see them or as the evidence points to. Mm-hmm. Are they having these conversations like this?
I feel like they live in a bubble.
I think it's like Egoville.
I think they talk to each other and say, "We're doing the hard work, guys. Just keep staring ahead."
No, they're eating Krispy Kremes.
Yeah, and don't listen to anybody. But here's another thing, right?
Guess there's nothing to talk about. Get the donuts.
What's the hard work? Like like they're doing the hard work, but what's the hard work?
Cutting libraries from our students. Cutting.
But for
music.
What? But for what? For what game? Like if somebody
in order to eliminate those salaries?
To save, just that and to save money. But here's the thing, right? So you're trying to save all this money and you can't give raises, even though no teacher has had a raise in 5 years, right? Yet you just gave somebody who's making $100,000 a $25,000 raise and called it a historical correction. Right? Called it a
wordsmithing, man. Wordsmithing.
Who got 125?
The business manager went from getting $100,000.
The business manager of a school district that's in the tank got a raise.
I mean, he should be like,
God.
is it a he? She? He?
It's a he. He's a he.
He should be losing his job. So because like if you're not running the business well,
he should be
a lot of
business
people
is losing money. Oh, like
and they're also creating
by the way,
jobs.
Congratulations. You're tanking the school district, but here's a raise for you, buddy.
And they're creating jobs too. So this guy gets $100,000 a year anyway, and then he's getting a $25,000 raise because it's a historical correction based on what people get in that job in the area. But wait, paraprofessionals, right? Are paras who are amazing people. They start at $16,000 a year. You heard me.
Yeah.
$16,000 a year. So
is that for a 40-hour week?
Yeah, they're working the same hours that the teachers are working. And here's
what does that break down to an hour?
I think I want to say it might be like
it's about $4 and a red gummy bear.
And 16 would be about $8.50 an hour.
Yeah. So here's the thing too. These paraprofessionals, right? Now, this is another point of contention. We have They want us to work an extra period, right? So we get what's called a prep period.
Right.
It's not a free period. That's when I make copies. That's when I lesson plan. That's when I prepare. That's when I'm able to talk to other teachers about issues, right? That's when, if you have time, you might be able to go to the bathroom, because no word of lie, we have to decide what needs to come first. Do we have to make copies? Do we eat our lunch, or do we go to the bathroom? Like, that is truly what happens in a day. Like, there are some days we don't drink water so that we don't go to the bathroom. Like that's
principal. Can I go to the bathroom?
We simply don't have time. So they want us. They have to pay us now to cover these classes, right? That extra period. If they don't have a sub, they need us to go and cover.
Right, because the agreed upon stuff was before the time schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I always say the one benefit of covering a class, right? Because I have to leave my prep period, is I've had the chance to meet some of these paraprofessionals, right? Because I might go and cover an emotional support room, or I might go cover the autistic room, or I might go cover different areas. And these people are unreal. They are absolute heroes. To see these children struggling, screaming, biting, hitting, right? And I mean, as an adult who's not trained in that, like it shakes.
It's tough.
It shakes you, right? Like, I was shook the one time when I was leaving that room, and I was practically in tears.
My mom was next door to them over there.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly where she was. And I'm telling you, you think about your own kids when you leave there, and you're just like, why? How did like, you can't even. And these people are able to connect with these kids.
It's unbelievable.
It's like magic, and they're getting treated so poorly.
16 grand.
16 grand.
Probably the hardest job in the building.
To do that? Wow.
It's criminal. So a man can
Emotionally
get
and physically hardest job.
$25,000 raise. And these guys don't even make that a year.
A couple of them got that, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Then there was, I think somebody new got like a $6,000 raise. Like, $6,000, really? Like, did you need it?
I think the problem is that somebody over there should have been smart enough to go like, hey, we're in a fight about money. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe it's legal
optics.
that we can do it, but the optics aren't going to be really good.
Well, they don't care about optics, because even, let's talk about one of the newest facts too. When the preschool program was closed, right?
How new is this fact?
Well, it's
one
not
of the newest facts.
It's not a new fact, but it's like one of our daily facts that are going out.
Do you have anything that we could break on here?
I don't know. They were in negotiations today, but I'm here, so I don't know what happened.
Did you get any texts that are like,
I'm still getting the robocalls from the school district. I'm like, one of these is going to be about.
I know.
They came to a deal. But
I would love
but here's
to
the
go to
thing.
school
I'll
on
be
Monday.
real honest, and I hate to be that guy. The money's just not there because it's been wasted.
Oh,
so,
it's well, they've got ESSER funds that they can use to fund.
But I don't think
contract.
they're going to give it up.
And now I think it's almost like a pissing match.
Oh yeah,
you know, like,
well, and that's the unfortunate thing. I mean, 'cause, listen, I don't. There's no other than the teachers themselves and the kids. Nobody in this is innocent.
Wait, if the money isn't there, but they had raises,
they have the money.
The money is there.
Where?
But it's
but they can find it. So where did
they
find
find it?
Where did they find the money to give the raises? Right. So I was just like, you know, as you guys were talking and stuff, like, what's that CEO's name? That CEO that cut his salary and everything and paid everybody $75.
Oh yeah. He paid, including himself.
And everybody was like, "Look, your company is going to tank and everything." They actually
productivity went through the
let me tell you something about this guy. Right? He doesn't have to deal with unions.
I know. I get that. I get that. But like sometimes, like I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about these things, right? And I'm like, you guys are running like an entity.
Mm-hmm.
You were supposed to do what is best for.
Because here's what happens. You know who gets hired? The prom king or the prom queen. And you know what they do? They put their friends in the places that they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So Missy McTiernan is the superintendent, right? There was never a job search done, right? There were never interviews done.
How do we know this?
It's just a fact. Candace Finan advised that she go into that position.
Who did she advise?
I guess the school board. I have no idea.
I'm just trying to.
Finan who's from the state.
I'm trying to figure out who's.
Finan is from the state.
Who
She's
makes
the recovery
the call?
office. She's definitely not the people who probably should be, but she was put into that role. Melissa McTiernan, and There was never a job search. There were never other candidates interviewed. I would like to see her resume.
Could it be because no one wanted the job?
I doubt that.
Well, because what's her
Like,
face just getting crushed too?
I guess we should find out by doing a job search.
I mean, that's prudent. It makes sense.
That would be prudent. But again, you go back to even the whole optics thing, right? So they don't necessarily care, or they don't think that anybody's paying attention. But even when they cut that preschool, and I know Tom Borthwick mentioned it when he was here, and that was when I was like dying laughing.
Right.
I mean, they cut preschool
just at the face of Tom.
When they
I think he looks like I think he's always been a cartoon character to me. I love him.
Yeah.
He's got like, he's just like his smiles are just, I don't know.
That's
Sorry,
so
I was fawning over Tom Borthwick.
when they cut preschool, and one of the school board members, her daughter owns a preschool in Scranton.
Yeah.
So to me, that's an immediate cause for removal
does anyone
from the
know
board.
if that was financially lucrative for her daughter?
Well, it has to be.
She owns a private preschool in Scranton that now has to take students that aren't in preschool in Scranton.
That would be like me, God forbid, being elected mayor of Scranton and pulling away the business permits from every other salon.
Yeah.
That would be criminal.
Yeah. That's a really great comparison.
Yeah.
It's just, it happens in plain sight. It's just really bizarre.
But that's the problem, is these things happen in plain sight and people just pass it off as, well, we're just doing the right thing. But so much of that has happened over the past year and a half.
Yeah.
Are these
all the
Republicans?
craziness.
No.
What?
Are these all Republicans?
The school board people?
Yeah.
Everybody's Democrat. But is anybody really Democrat or Republican at this point? Or are they just looking for some sort of like political clout? You know?
Do you think that that's what it is? Do you think people identify?
I think people just identify in this area.
Do you think this is my belief team, or this is convenient team?
I think.
Do you know what I mean?
I think 99% of the people in this area that want to get involved in politics just say I'm a Democrat because they know it'll win every time.
Yeah.
Because that's all that people vote for in Scranton.
And that's definitely one of the reasons.
Because it seems to me that the behavior of these people that were elected is kind of counter to the mission statement of the party.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's great. That's
taking away preschool.
Am I just trying to understand this
giving
right
raises
now?
to the people at the top, screwing the people at the bottom?
If your head is exploding, it's because you're understanding what's really happening.
Politicians have the ability to change things around here.
Yeah, nobody does anything for the right reasons.
Fetterman was just here. Doesn't he have the ability to do something?
Oh my God. I was like jumping up and down, like screaming to Fetterman when I know. I just like,
but can he as the lieutenant governor be effective?
All of them can, and they aren't.
Yeah.
So was this just a campaign stop?
That's what I hope it wasn't. I guess with him, we'll see.
Well, you can hope in one hand and shit in the other.
Are we back to the monkeys throwing poop at people analogy?
You're right. I have faith in nobody at this point unless I see somebody make a change or do something.
Yeah, but that dude came up here, got front page
of
the paper.
And then we went there the next day. We saw him. Was it the next day or the day after? We went to Harrisburg.
I like that dude, but here's what I'm saying, man. That guy showed up, got on the front page of the paper, and didn't do anything.
Twice. And I did go after, like, there was, God love.
He's not getting my vote.
Well, we'll see what happens. He seemed to be pretty disgusted about the healthcare getting cut, but nothing has changed yet. So
when
we'll
the cameras start rolling and somebody says action, sure.
And I'll be the first one to say, as somebody who has, voted Democrat, I've gotten in fights with people over,
don't do it.
Democrat.
Don't do it.
I know.
Everyone's good people. Don't do it.
I know.
It's not worth it.
But
not everybody.
But I'm aggravated at
More
my
people
Democrats. Like I know that Joe Biden is the president and he's like he's big and he's got a lot of things going on. But we're good enough during election season, and your city is literally in flames, right? And a year to the date that he was here, his wife was introduced by teachers at PNC Field because she's a teacher.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I have been like, not that they noticed like little old Breeda, but I have been tagging them in like Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, like, hey, your city is in flames.
Can I ask you a question?
Crickets. Yes.
Do you believe that actions speak louder than words?
Yeah.
What do their actions tell you?
Oh, I know. Listen, I'm not.
To me,
pleased.
like I used to be a that guy.
Yeah, I know.
And then I realized that, like, oh, you guys broke my heart.
Oh,
you lied to me.
I feel it.
And you've been lying to me.
Definitely. Well, this has been really a rude awakening for me because I sit and reflect and I look around, and it even though I knew it on some level, I really notice how nobody seems to do things for the right reasons.
Nope.
And that's one thing I said, listen, if I'm speaking out and if they figure out a way to furlough me, they're going to furlough me. They want to furlough teachers. I'm one of the newer ones. So I could very
They
well
could.
get
You
furloughed.
could then sue them.
I mean, they could furlough me tomorrow, but guess what? My kids are in the Scranton School District. So I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's like careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Because then I won't have any
You got all the
filter.
time. You got all the time.
Yeah.
So, okay. Some of us have to go home, but
Oh my God, I could
But it
see
was
how
like-
you guys are
isn't this
so
fun? Isn't this
There was a
fun? Are you having
post-
fun?
Yes, I always wanted to have my own podcast.
I think you should have one.
No,
It'll be nuts.
No joke. My dad used to have a radio show called
Really?
The Irish Hour.
Where?
Not even kidding. It was like Wilk.
It wasn't called the Datsun.
Oh my God, that's an excellent name.
No, that was his nickname, though.
Don't give me any ideas.
In the
No,
criminal underworld, he was the dots.
He was John J. Cronin, used auto sales, and got
So-
there was a
Yeah.
little
So
bit of
you, like,
subpar lending there, so I'm not
Your
really
post,
sure.
you had a post. One of your posts, you were talking about Katie resigning. Do you
Apparently,
wanna,
she can't resign. I just found this out too, because that's the thing. Everything's so
Whoa,
like
whoa, whoa,
convoluted.
wait.
Imagine
But
having
you
a
wanna-
job
but
you can't
yeah,
quit.
You can't resign
Yeah,
from
I-
a school board?
Apparently, in the recovery.
What is this, Brokeback Mountain? I can't quit you.
Holy God.
What is this? Are we living in the
First of all,
Twilight Zone?
okay, and this is why. Okay, listen, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
This
I would
is
quit,
why.
but I can't.
This is what I don't understand. Okay, Katie is in business. You would think that a business person would be the one to come along and solve this, because if there's anybody in this world
Yeah, the commodities
that
the kids.
knows how to solve problems like this,
Mhm.
it's business people,
Mhm.
because it's all the same. You have employees that need to be taken care of, because if you don't, you'll have a poor product.
Right.
And if you mismanage this is not rocket science.
Yeah.
But how
But-
how successful is she at running her business?
That's
I don't
none
know.
of my business. I'll
I
tell
don't
you
know.
that
So
much.
like, I mean,
But I'll
like,
tell you
but
what.
here's what I'm
if-
saying.
If this is the audition,
You know what's
not
another
there,
thing
so-
that business people do really, really well? They renegotiate contracts.
Mhm.
good ones,
Yeah.
not the ones that tank their businesses because that's why they
Right.
tank
but,
but
here's,
like-
here's who's in charge.
But like, why aren't these
Yeah,
people
Audi,
doing
no.
Audi
it?
and Finan are really the ones I think that are firing the
Yeah,
balls.
people we didn't elect,
Yeah, but the
didn't
board-
vote for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those are the people.
But the board
the
is supposed-
solicitor
but the
was
bo-
hired by the board.
Yeah, the board is supposed to hold them accountable. They work for the board, right? All these guys work for the board.
Yeah.
So the board is supposed
Board
to hold them
says nothing.
accountable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then
They
and
can say it was
everybody on the
Audi's
board-
choice all day long to take
Yeah.
the health care, but they hired him. They
They
can fire
hired
him.
him, so they could. Yeah. So I mean, if the board, then everybody on the board has to resign.
And I'm sorry,
quit.
Apparently, she
whenever-
can't resign. It's in
I
the
have
recovery plan. No word of
Yeah,
lie.
you can.
It's in
No,
the.
it's in the recovery plan.
it's-
You can't resign.
Well, this
Yeah,
is,
you can.
Wait.
Just stop going. What are they going to do? Arrest you?
It's. I actually read it today because I said she needs to resign, and somebody was like, "Oh, let me show you this part of the recovery plan where it says that you cannot resign unless Finan lets you out of it."
Who writes in a contract shitty job security?
This city's really good at signing bad contracts.
What the F? Seriously?
I guess so.
But that's
Shouldn't
insane.
part of the recovery be we could do whatever we got to do to right the ship?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
recovery. This whole notion of
like a
recovery.
dime-
What
dime
is
store
recovery?
AA.
but the board probably voted. The board voted for it. That's why the recovery
Well-
plan is in.
Well, here's the
Is
funny
in
thing
effect,
about the
right?
recovery plan too, is that when it was voted for, it was apparently, everybody thought that it was like amendable, and it is amendable. But all of a sudden, you'll hear, and I believed this. I believe this because Candace Finan kept putting out this narrative that this is not amendable. Like, we cannot change the recovery plan, right? But they can. They absolutely can. They just haven't. They can when it works in their favor or when it's convenient for them. So when they realized that they couldn't get rid of 4 and 5-year-old preschool in 1 year, right? They amended it so that it was staggered. So they could amend it. But then suddenly, when it comes to the teacher contract, it's not amendable.
Well, I'm having the same fight with the parking authority right now. There's a deal that the city council and everybody put together, and that's why the parking is so out of control. It's the same basic idea. It's mismanaged for years. People taking money out of the pot, people getting their friends and family rich. And here we are. And they keep saying, oh, well, we have this contract. It's set in stone. It's a 40-something year contract. Every contract is amendable.
Absolutely.
Every single one.
I mean,
Yeah.
And anybody who tells you otherwise is a liar.
Yeah. And
End of
well,
conversation.
that's what we're dealing with.
I mean, the contract not necessarily amendable. You can break it.
We don't need to get into the nuance of this, man.
Every contract is amendable. Every single one.
Yeah, with penalties. Right?
There are
consequences.
No. Oh, dude, just think about it. It's two pieces of paper, or it's one piece of paper that two people decided on, and those two entities can decide to not decide on that.
If I'm giving you $100,000 a year for something, I come to you and say, listen, here's the deal. You can go pay a lawyer $100,000 to sue me, or we can knock it down to 90 and we'll just keep going.
Yeah, some
you
people
renegotiate. It's just it's just basic business.
So
they're saying that the contract is unnegotiable. Or unamendable.
They can't amend it. Now, here's the other thing, and let me preface this with the saying:
the recovery plan is not a contract. It's just a plan. It's like a strategic plan. So, strategic plan is different from a contract.
But they're saying that you can't change the
They're saying it can't be amended.
Which
right?
is stupid.
But the state's paying for it.
Yeah.
Right. Let me preface this by saying no teacher wants taxes to be raised. Right. And
we can't. I mean, the city.
Oh, we can't.
It's done.
We can't. But it says in the recovery plan that they have to be, but they're not doing it because it's amendable.
Mm-hmm.
So
the recovery plan says they have to raise taxes.
Yes, but they're not doing it.
The school district can't raise taxes.
They're not doing it. The recovery,
Can they?
Well, they're not doing it, but the recovery plan indicates that needs to happen. They're not doing it. And that's the thing. I don't want them to do it. I'm not saying that they should be doing it. But the fact that the recovery plan indicates
they're
that
not following the rules on this thing.
They're picking and choosing.
They're picking and choosing what they want to do. Now, I'm glad that they're, picking not to do that. But I'm just saying, if you can pick that, why are you saying then that it's not amendable?
So what is the hope? What is the thing where you're like, so out of the things that are being disputed,
okay, so
what is the hope for, like, because all negotiations, if both sides walk away unhappy with a deal, it's a good deal.
So, all right, and
it's about as fair as it could be if both sides walk away. It gets
so complicated, and I know that we have to wrap up, but this is one huge issue.
I don't have anywhere to be.
Well, if you guys want to keep talking, I just got pee.
No, this is just the one issue.
She's got a cup somewhere around here.
There's the step movement. And I don't know a whole lot about the step movement because I'm a newer teacher, but I will say this. When people were hired 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 years ago, right? They were hired at a lower wage than every other district. And the thing was, they say, okay, it's basically the employer saying, listen, we want to hire you, but we're going to pay you really poorly compared to other people. Mm-hmm. But if you stick around for 15 years, we'll make it worth your time. You'll get your raise. Oh. And we'll even you out with everybody else.
Yeah, that's a terrible way to do things.
Terrible way to do things. Yeah. But that's the way it was done, right? So now these people have planned. They've stayed for 15 years, right? They've done their time. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, remember that? We're not going to, we know you worked that time and we owe you that money, but we're not going to give that to you.
Yeah.
You can't do that to people.
See, now that is a contract that you can't get out of.
No, so that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, contracts have consequences. And you could break them. Mm-hmm. You could break them, but it comes with penalty. And whatever that penalty is, I don't know, right? So, I mean, there are, especially like retail stores. Was it not Barnes and Noble, which one? Borders. Mm-hmm. They signed some like weird contracts that they couldn't get out of. They couldn't get out of their stores, mm-hmm. But when we're going under, they had to figure it out and say, you know what, we would rather pay that penalty to mm-hmm. get the early exit, mm-hmm. right? Because at the end of the day, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So like when it comes to that, you just have to look at, okay, what am I willing to forego, mm-hmm. right? What sort of penalty can I pay and it's okay, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't just like...
Well, you have some people who are owed $50, $60, $70,000, mm-hmm. And they worked that time.
Yeah, I'm not...
So it's not a matter of like, oh, they're not getting the raises for that time. That's part of their salary that they just didn't get yet. And now they're saying...
owed.
They're owed
Is that because the contracts have not been renegotiated in 5 years?
Yeah.
The IOU, there's a big IOU out there.
And mm-hmm. listen, I know you said you lay down in front of a train for her, but she's not getting the contract renegotiated. What's going on?
Oh my God, Rose. So when I said to you before that there is nobody that I know that does things for the right reasons,
right?
Except for Rosemary Boland. And I know that people will think that she's this divisive character, but she truly is one of the hardest working people I know who will do anything for these teachers. And she's not giving up. So it's not, she can't snap her fingers and make them do it, but she is not giving up. She's not stopping negotiating. She's not stopping the way that others have. So I had somebody say to me once, they're like, all she cares about is the teachers. And I was like,
It's kind of her job.
Yeah.
Right?
That's literally her only job.
Yeah. So I think
as an advocate
that Audi met his match. I think he came into Scranton thinking he could go boopy doopy doo, but you could literally see his blood pressure rising.
I mean, do you think this is just it's just a battle of who's going to flinch first?
I mean, here's the thing.
Because
is
here's the thing.
there.
I think I talked to you about this yesterday, right? If the fair funding thing happens, right, and everybody's getting paid their fair share, and everything's equitable, and the money is where it's supposed to be, and what is to stop the same thing from happening again if you don't change what the dynamic of the whole thing is, or the people, maybe it's the people who live in this town, maybe really pay attention to who the hell you're electing.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's definitely
because even with the bump in state money that we're supposed to get with fair funding, what's to guarantee that we're not going to get that? I mean, problem is that people don't think in relative time and space.
Right.
They think about it like, I forgot how that's. And meanwhile, we're all dealing with it right now. We're all it's on the tip of our tongues. We're talking about it, right? But in a year from now, we're going to forget this moment.
That's definitely something that can't happen because
so then you get all the money.
Do you do it? Yeah.
And what's it? $30 million?
Well, here's
extra per year we're supposed to be getting.
So and speaking of money and putting it places, so a perfect example is West Scranton Intermediate. They want to put $33 million into the school. Listen, the school needs an overhaul. Wonderful. You want to put money into it. That's great. But you can have the nicest school in the world.
With
you don't
shitty
have
teachers.
You have no teachers, right? So there's this STEM program, which again, I think is wonderful. I love that they want to do these things. They're going to have this, multi-million-dollar STEM project happening. Great. Who's going to teach it? Because you're not going to get anybody coming in for $38,000 a year.
Yeah.
When you could go to Abington and get 50.
Michael would take the job.
But I think what most people don't realize is that educators retire. You need to refill the fuel of educators,
and they're leaving. So
they're not.
The people that
nobody's going to send their resume here.
Right. And the people
that shit show, I ain't sending my resume there.
Exactly. And not only that though, you've got teachers who are, if they're not quite on the bump step, right? Or they're not waiting for their 80K, they're like, oh, I could go to North Pocono and make $55,000 a year. See ya, right? And I can't blame them for that. So I've always had people say to me,
but there's nothing, there's no golden goose here. There's nothing that's incentivizing people to come here.
There's absolutely nothing incentivizing people to come here, and that's the other thing. I have people super well-meaning. I've said it to myself.
Oh, you got to tell them we have lavish.
I know, right? Yeah, but what people will say, well, just apply somewhere else. Go and get a job somewhere else, right? Okay. And I don't fault the people who have done that, but it doesn't solve the problem for my two kids who are at Whittier and now they have no teachers. And I don't have the money to leave the school district.
I don't think they should put it in receivership, but I think the community needs to come together in some way and shake the Etch-a-Sketch.
I will say the community has been amazing. And
can we vote people out?
Oh my God.
I mean, that's where my mind is right now.
Can we petition people out?
When you look at something like this, I put it,
the whole damn board.
I'll put it in relative terms to my business. Okay. I am not an artist. I'm a business person, but the people that do hair at my business are the artists. Mm-hmm. It's like teachers.
Yeah.
It's it's the same kind of idea. The teachers are the one that do the work. I just kind of make sure everything's moving well behind the scenes. But I'm on the board of a couple of things. I'm on the board of Lackawanna College.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful school. I went there.
They're crushing it.
Yeah, I went to Lackawanna College. I think that's an amazing school that doesn't get nearly enough credit. I tell Jill all the time, I am so proud to be a part of this board. I'm on so many other things, it feels like banging my head against a brick wall. But even though she's doing an incredible job, the entire staff there is doing an incredible job. If they weren't, it's our job to get rid of them and to find somebody else who can. Yeah.
The business administrator who is making $100,000 a year
125 now.
120 got a raise when if I had a business administrator for my business and my business was losing $30 million a year, they would be fired so quickly. And why is nobody talking about this?
Yeah, well, this is it.
Why is nobody addressing the elephant in the room?
Everybody's
and that is,
afraid. People are afraid to talk.
Well, I'm sorry, but good leadership means sometimes people have to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And you know that, like, coming from Cigna, that's when I first walked in. I was like,
does that mean you get rid of bad teachers too?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
but here's the thing.
And sometimes
Missy said that Missy McTiernan said that there needs to be a warm body in every room.
Huh?
Meaning teachers.
Could be somebody in a coma.
Yeah, exactly. So
they're giving emergency certifications to people to go sit there.
Exactly.
Like, this is out of control.
It's out of control. And they
this
don't
is a dumpster fire.
To know, like, it blows my mind that they almost seem to think that they can do all of this without us. It's like they think that schools don't need teachers.
Do you think there's like almost like a superiority complex there or something like that?
That's
Because that's the only
typical
thing that, like,
Scranton.
it's like
Yeah.
it's just real snooty.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, nobody's
look
gonna
at
go
who's
talk.
involved.
I'm not going to talk to people in the basement. It's like, no, go talk to them.
Come
Get some
and sit
perspective.
in my room.
Know what your land and
But
owner over.
Even beyond that, though, it's really, really simple. If your budget is $185 million a year and you're actually spending $200 million, why is nobody talking about that?
Right.
This is insanity.
And why is it always put on the backs of us? Like, we're teachers.
Actually, you know what? It's put on the backs of us.
Yes. Yeah.
taxpayers.
Yeah. But, like, they always try to make us look greedy. Now, what is greedy about making $38,000
and I will
a year?
say, number one, I didn't know that teachers were paid $38,000 a year. I was, up until very recent, one of those people, because I'm a business person, that's like, you're just asking for money. And I have I coached at Scranton High School. I'm friends with these guys, and I think the fatal flaw, because there were some people that were like, man, these teachers aren't making enough money, but, like, at the same time too, like, our kids need to go to school and everything. And I think there was a lot of mixed emotions. I said this to Ty last week. I have never seen a tide turn so quickly than when they pulled healthcare, and it's like, oh wait, maybe they are the bad guys.
Yeah.
They've never done that in another strike here.
No. That's unconscionable.
Yeah, but that's the way that we're
treated.
treated.
I like to play dirty in business.
That's what they think of us, though.
Oof.
That's what they think of us. When you do something like that, you've thought that through.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so, like, that's what you think of us.
Yeah.
So we already know that.
And they haven't backtracked on it. They could have, after that school board meeting, been like, you know what, this might have been a bad idea. We should probably give them this back because they're not budging. It didn't work. Give them that. Nope.
Yeah.
If we get enough people, would you register independent?
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I will tell you right now, I am not.
I'm trying to get everybody to leave both parties.
Yeah. I am neither here nor there.
Is that an old Irish proverb?
Seriously.
It almost sounded like you had a little bit of an Irish accent when you
God,
said it. I loved
start
it.
talking.
Nor there.
Yeah. Well, listen, I always say, I think about my mom so many times in these conversations because people go, oh, your mother would be so proud of you. My mother would be like, Breeda, sit down.
Yeah.
You're going
what
to.
Are the
my mother would be like,
think?
oh, no. She'd be like, you're going to get shot. Like, she would take it next level. She would take it next level. But then I think of, like, my granddad, right? Like, my granddad was a very quiet, tall man. That's a really weird description, but that's how
I got it. I got it perfectly.
He kind of looked like John Wayne, except quiet.
Micah,
right?
Have you seen Quiet Man?
Wait, how did you explain him? A quiet, tall.
A very quiet, tall man.
Are you sleeping?
Like, he would sit there and read his books by the range, right? And but he was a member of the old IRA, right? Now, this was never spoken of.
Sinn Féin?
Or
is that not an offshoot?
Well, I mean,
we're talking 1910. Like, we're talking, he died.
He was
wait, like before this stuff, right? Like before, we're not talking about like the 1980s, 70s with like car bombs and stuff like this. My granddad died when
when it was a political party.
Right, exactly. He was 91 when he died in 1993.
The red right hand, man.
We're talking old school. So, now, he would not, I always think about him, which was so funny because when I start to talk up, I think about him because he wouldn't say anything to me, but he would be like, yes. I feel like he would be proud of that.
That was your approving nod?
Yeah, that was my
approving nod? Mm-hmm.
Where my mother would be like smoking her merits, freaking out that somebody was going to like come after me. But
We should have done what your grandfather did and just get a gun and don't worry about it.
Yeah. My granddad was definitely as deep as the sea, as they'd say. But
He was probably the kind of guy that didn't speak much, but when he did, you shut up and listen.
oh my God, I will never forget when I'd be little in Ireland and I would do something wrong and he'd wave his cane and he'd go, "Conduct yourself."
Yeah, that's old school. I like that.
Yeah. Conduct yourself.
Well, it seems like you have a revolutionary's heart.
Listen. Maybe I should talk to the crystals and see where I came from.
We gotta talk more about that. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't either. Maybe I'll get fired. Does anybody have a job for me? Can I come to Lavish?
Yeah. Always.
We're all looking.
I thought you said nope.
I did.
We'll talk.
I think there's a lot of ego that needs to be put aside on everybody, and I think, I think I told you on the phone. Somebody said to me, "There's 3 words in the English language you got to learn to not say, and that's Democrat, Republican, Independent." Yeah. And if you can do that, you can be in a room and you could actually focus on the objective, which is ultimately, it's everybo's happy and everybody's safe and everybody's learning.
And that's the thing. I'm always open to learning.
And no
I'll
one's
be the
being a
first one to
criminal.
say if I did so. I think that's part of the problem now is that we get so stuck in digging our heels into what we believe that even if you think that if it occurs to you for a moment that you might have been wrong, we won't say it, right? But like it's okay to say I didn't have all the information. I didn't know. I was wrong about this. It's okay.
I think people respect that. I just think people are just afraid to say it.
Yeah.
I think you'd find more people would be like, oh. I think as any politician, even on the air, should the more honest they are, it's more believable everything that they say.
Yeah.
And when you're talking out both sides of your mouth, nobody's going to trust you.
But they're afraid the opponents are going to be using that against them.
And
right?
that's
if
the
you're
thing.
in
You
it for
can't be
politics,
afraid.
yeah, and if
You
you're
can't be afraid.
If you're in it for political reasons and where you're going to go, then you're never going to be able to give it 100%.
The most dangerous person running for office would ever be is someone who didn't give a shit what either side said about them.
Yeah, that's not like,
and they probably would never win because
they'll
they're
never
like,
win because
we can't
you
let that
play
truth
nice.
teller win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in the beginning, you said something, and I think that's is so key, and that's something that everybody should be thinking about. Like the school board, administrators, teachers, everything. We got to think about how we got in the hole.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you talked about how to get out of the hole, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it should be, how do we get in that hole?
I was being optimistic because I didn't think anyone would agree how they got there.
Yeah, no, I mean, because like I think getting to the end as well, you talked about what if we did get that 30 million? We're gonna go back.
Yeah,
and you're only gonna go back if you didn't know how you got in that hole.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
we
and
need
if you
to
don't fix it,
I
you're gonna waste it.
I mentioned that.
Okay,
so I said if both sides can, even though they won't.
Yeah. So that's like the biggest thing. Like we need to know, like, how do we get in that hole? How do we get out of that hole? And
how do we stay out of it?
And could we not get out of the hole by cutting things like preschool, library, and essential resources for students?
That had nothing to do with the hole. Let's just call that what it is.
But here's the thing.
That was federally funded from outside.
Yeah.
That was a personal. Let's just call it what it is. That was a personal decision by a school board member that benefited their family. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. So those are the three most.
No,
important
now you
things.
got me going. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Those are like the 3 most important things, I think. How do we get in that hole? How do we get out? And how do we stay out of that hole?
That's the ultimate thing, man. But that takes a lot of soul searching and
it takes a lot
ego
of
dying. Micah. No, they'd hate him even more, man. They'd hate him even more.
That's why I always say, I'm unelectable because I don't play nice.
You might be the most electable because you don't play nice because you're honest.
People
That's
don't
what
like
I'm saying,
that.
man. There's
People
nothing
don't
more.
like- people don't like honesty.
I told a prominent politician on here, if you win re-election, the first thing you need to do on day one is go fire half of whatever government building you go into.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I can't do that.
Never, ever,
that is 100%
ever
what
be
you
in
need to do.
politics. I would never. That's part of the problem. I think when people, that's their goal. They have to twist
They're
themselves
compromised.
to fit into these places, and I could never be bothered.
There's a
with
few
that.
good ones. I've met a few.
Yeah, there's
Have
a
you?
few good ones.
There's few.
There's a few good ones in the area.
Like Alex.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Alex is my favorite. Alex is one of my favorite people. When I was like, "Hey Kelly, doesn't your husband do something with business cards?"
Yeah.
Alex.
When's the next strike, rally, protest?
Well, I mean, we're on strike, so
Every day?
Every day. And now not tomorrow, although
We
I'm
should go
sure
down
I'll
and
be
do
around.
like a man on a street podcast and just talk to people.
Oh my God, you should. So, I mean, unless something crazy happened in negotiations, then Monday.
Where's your phone? Check your phone real
Let's
quick.
check my phone.
Yeah.
Ooh, breaking news. Nothing changed.
Or she's like, oh, my Panera bread came. Nothing breaking? That you can
Sarah
say,
wants to know if Caitlin can sleep over. No, you're not interested in that.
Okay, well, I guess another day of failure.
Oh, Navient did call me.
Who's that?
That's my student loan. I owe them money.
That you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do owe them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody.
So you got to pay that back for that education that isn't going to pay you well.
Somebody. My friend's flux capacitor is on empty. Ha ha ha.
Well, he needs to throw. To throw the old food in the Mr. Fusion.
Yeah. So that's really. I have no life, guys, other than this. You know.
Oh, so
yeah. That's really all I have.
Well, I'm going to piss people off, and then
I'm just gonna.
and then we'll do podcast.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you very much for coming here. It was
Thank
really
you for
sweet to meet you.
Me.
I'm going to find you on
I don't
Facebook.
know why you guys want. Like I said to my husband, I was like, they have like important people on.
Yeah, but nobody hears the point of view of a parent
Just
and a
everyday Jane.
teacher. Well, look, do you think any of them from the board would come in here?
No.
Right. So we're never going to be able to talk to them.
And even with our
I
superintendent,
don't dislike any of them. Actually, I just think they're bad at what they do.
She would never actually speak off the cuff.
Who?
You know, our superintendent would never speak off the cuff. Nobody will speak off the cuff. Nobody, unless it's rehearsed.
No, they're terrified.
They won't do it. And I want to bring them into my 6th grade classroom so I could teach them how.
Well, maybe don't present it in that way.
I mean, it's already presented. I mean, I guess I always say
Is
if
that
they're
what you're
going
doing? You're just pissing them off. You're going, why do you come into my classroom? I'll teach you how to
Hey,
talk.
it's real simple. The only people that are afraid to speak the full truth are the people that have something to hide.
Yeah. Listen,
On
I end
that
up in
note,
jail tomorrow. Who
Breeda,
knows?
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ash, you want to do it?
Yeah, what a week.
Woo!
That's it.